Alright, wow, perfect. I think we're set now, folks. So, sorry about that. I don't know why it's so consistent. Seems like whenever I launch a stream that's been scheduled, sometimes it just does not want to cooperate and it just starts getting really funky. But things are looking much more stable now. I'm hoping that it actually maintains itself. Alright, so we're gonna jump in. We're gonna jump in game here. And we're going to get it rolling. We're going to start trying to see who we can get to open up a spec slot for us. And we can jump in here and see all the action. We're streaming the new player tournament hosted by RTK every Sunday. It's a good time. If it's your first time joining in, welcome, welcome. If you're familiar, welcome again regardless. It's good to have you here. Let's see. Okay. Right. We got the game going. Let's go check out the bracket real quick. Okay. Just gotta double check all this stuff is popping up right. It can oftentimes end up being a little bit chaotic, so we're gonna try and make it work and not be a complete disaster. We are gonna ask Son of Heaven and Zammy if we can spectate their match in the first round, and we're probably going to do the live cast for the first match. And from there, we're probably going to stick with just grabbing whoever we can, honestly. And we'll be doing lots of casted replays, more than likely. Okay, copy. Alright, y'all. First match is going to be a showdown between Huntress Himbo and Son of Heaven. Huntress Himbo, also known as Zammy. Don't worry too much about it. What is going on with stream? Hold on. Let me try closing this stuff. I'm doing my best to make the stream play nice, but it's being a little bit iffy. So, I don't know if there's a whole lot I can do about it right now. Hi. How's it going, Adelmo? Welcome to the stream. It might be a little haggard today. I don't know why I'm struggling with it being so off kilter right now. I've not been having this problem lately. Hold on, guys. Oh. I have the wrong graphic for the tournament up on YouTube, but this is the new player dom tournament. But there is also an advanced player tournament going on at the same time. I'm gonna see if I can fix that real quick, just so everybody knows what the actual deets are. Alright, Son of Heaven and Huntress are figuring out their current details. They're building their armies, so we're just going to keep moving along with fixing this up real quick before we jump into their game and get it rolling. And we're going to be doing lots of replays as well today. It'll cut down on the lag. It can oftentimes be a problem when you're spectating, and I would like to avoid that as much as possible. So everybody's being a good sport and dropping replays for the tournament. Alright. We've got stuff updated and we're ready to go. It's going to be on Decrepit Moor, which is one of the more fun maps. It's pretty open, but there is tree cover hiding a lot of the summons. So you can do some pretty fun plays where you like summon in some stalk units and the like, and kind of creep around the edges of the battlefield and get into your opponent's backline pretty effectively. Which is going to be something that comes into play with Empire and Lizardmen being the first matchup here. Lizardmen have, Chameleon Skinks and the Chameleon Stalkers. Umbral Tide does have Stalk, and they can get around the map pretty quickly, but maybe not the best unit to be trying to make backline plays with. Can be a little bit sketchy just because they don't have the best melee defense, and Chameleons and others could struggle in other matchups, but seeing as it's Empire, other than the Heavy Knights, doesn't have a great way of dealing with Chameleon Skinks, and those little guys can motor around the battlefield pretty effectively regardless. Alright, guys. So you've got a home objective for each side, and then one point here. It's not really in the middle, per se. I mean, in the middle of the map, yeah, but it's very much out on the edge, where, the edge of the map is, like, over here. And with the middle objective being as far out as it is, you can actually get a lot of chases off the side if you make your plays appropriately. Alright, guys. Oh, we got Tic-Tac-Toe on the field. We've got the Skink Priest of Heavens in the sky as well. Doesn't have the passive casting ability with Roiling Skies. Just has Uranus Thunderbolt here, which is a good call. It's good against artillery and does pretty good work against cavalry too. Lots of red-crested skinks. We've got skink cohorts in here. It's a little difficult to see all the forces just because of the trees in the deployment zone. Saurus Warriors too, and some more Sauruses with shields. Always a good call to have shields against Empire. You know, just because you see stuff like this. Lots of crossbowmen for Son of Heaven here. Hammer of the Witches is on the field also, which is a very powerful artillery piece. Very good against Lizardmen. If you can keep it safe, it can be a little difficult just because of the shenanigans that Lizardmen can pull off. That Skink Priest can hit the actual artillery pieces and destroy them pretty efficiently. We'll see if Huntress Himbo is tied in on that. But probably just because they obviously brought it. So we'll see how the artillery does. We've got Knights of the Black Rose in the opening, which is very aggressive. But I honestly like it in this matchup because you'll see lots of Chameleon Skinks and Skirmishers often. And if there's a counter unit for that, Knights of the Black Rose are perfect. I mean, they've got pretty good speed. They've got crazy melee defense and a bonus versus infantry. So killing Skirmishers, even Sauruses, are going to suffer against those guys. So it's going to be fun seeing them come in and start sweeping up on the battlefield in the early going, maybe. Balthazar Gelt in the sky. I don't know how I missed the Supreme Sorcerer of the Empire here, or the Supreme Patriarch, I guess. Blah. But, you know, he's just going to be dropping Final Transmutation and Searing Doom here. He's got the Staff for the reduction in miscast and power recharge. Popping that immediately, which is a really good call here. And Knights of the Black Rose, they're maneuvering out onto the edge of the battlefield just to start maybe skirmishing over the #1 objective. We've got leaders back here. Oh, the, is this the Ripperdactyls? Just the regular old Ripperdactyls coming out, it looks like. Which is a nice little summon in. Gonna be pretty decent for clearing out the infantry here, but maybe gonna be pretty vulnerable to the heavy cavalry that are coming out. We got Knights of the Blazing Sun for the first summon out for Son of Heaven here. We've got the grand army of Skinks and Sauruses advancing out onto the open plain. Going wide against Empire is usually a pretty good call. We do have some lag here. I'm hoping it's not me. But it shouldn't be a problem in future rounds regardless, since we'll be doing replays for the most part. And, I don't know. It's always hard to tell with CA. The mess of their lobbies is pretty well known at this point. Good damage on the Saurus Warriors with shields here. Hammer of the Witch is just kind of pounding away out here. Sitting up on the hill, in a pretty good position, honestly. It can hammer #1, and it can even hit the home objective here, so we'll see what it can do in helping the Empire push. Oh, we've got some great swords out here. That's nice. You got 3 great swords. That's a huge commitment to armor-piercing anti-infantry units. The Ripperdactyls would love to get on top of those guys, but with the crossbowmen here, and the Hammer of the Witches potentially threatening, that might be a little bit difficult. Skink Priest, observing the front lines, and crossbowman firing a few shots out there at him, but he gets out of range nice and quick and doesn't really want to take any of that damage. So Tic-Tac-Toe and the Ripperdactyls, it is going to be really interesting to see where these guys go. They're getting really aggressive in the opening here, flying right over into the range of these crossbowmen, who are getting a little bit of damage in there. Ripperdactyls don't have a ton of health. They can be pretty squishy, if not properly used. So it's going to come down to where these guys end up landing is going to determine what kind of effect that they can have. But Tic-Tac-Toe should be set to just go right after Balthazar Gelt. He is really quick and actually outpaces Tic-Tac-Toe. That seems kind of ridiculous, honestly. You would expect that the Master of the Skies for the Lizardmen would, you know, have a little bit more than 90 speed. That's slower than a lot of other aerial units, but more Ripperdactyls coming out here. Cold One Riders riding up into the backfield here, and it's getting a little sketchy for the Empire artillery here. We've got Knights of the Blazing Sun and Knights of the Black Rose helping out some... Knights of the Black Rose are helping the Greatswords out against the Saurus and the Red-Crested Skinks. More Skink cohort here getting wrecked by the Greatswords, but losing this artillery piece, it does not seem like there's going to be any Empire response to saving this thing. no points in the bank, really, and Cold One Riders and 2 Ripperdactyls right here on the back is going to clean this artillery piece up. And another really good push here from Hunter's Himbo, getting Red-Crested Skinks through the front line and pushing on top of this crossbow unit. That's a really good catch there. Saurus Spears following up, and or Saurus Warriors, not the Spear variant, just the regular variant, chasing down some Spearmen who are trying to help out their crossbow brothers in arms. And these 2 crossbowmen need to start turning and firing on the Red-Crested Skinks here. Oh, the White Wolves are out here, the Huntsman ROR. God, I can't even remember the last time I saw these guys coming out onto the field. They're a very rare unit to spot, but huge final transmutation from the Empire coming down, doing a lot of damage to Tic-Tac-Toe and the Ripperdactyl swarm here. They do get the cannon. That's a good catch, and taking them offline is going to give the Lizards some really nice battlefield control heading into the mid-game here, just because all of the summons in are going to be a little bit safer and are going to be a lot less likely to take a bunch of damage from those cannons on the way in. There's a decent number of crewmen left, though. It might be worth sending Tic-Tac-Toe just to make sure they rout off, because the actual artillery pieces are still online here and going to be able to recrew those potentially. These Cold One Riders took some nasty shots going in there. Looks like Searing Doom was dropped here on top of them while they were tied up with something. Balthazar Gelt getting 1,200 value in the early going here is pretty slick. You really like to see him performing. He's very powerful as a caster, because he can get in there and just do obscene amounts of damage really fast. Ripperdactyls flying overhead, trying to find some spots to land and support the frontline fight, which is going really well, honestly. We've got some Greatswords doing a lot of good work here, but Red-Crested Skinks and Saurus Warriors are just cleaning house on the Empire State Troopers. Which isn't too terribly surprising. Empire State Troopers, not the most durable of infantry units. Trying to find the most appropriate word for them. They certainly have some leadership problems when they start getting beat up on. They have okay stats, but just low armor. Makes them pretty squishy when they're going up against 52 weapon strength at base from the Saurus Warriors. Cold One Riders swarming out, man. So far, Hunter's Himbo is just being uber aggressive with the summons so far. We've got Tic-Tac-Toe chasing Balthazar Gelt down still. And just a complete sandwich here from these Cold One Riders. The regular variants, mind you, not the Spear variant, so no bonus against the Knights of the Black Rose here. You don't necessarily need that, though, just because the AP values on these guys are so decent. They've got a okay charge bonus. It's nothing incredible, but it's certainly going to give them a nice leg up. Getting more of these guys out than the Empire can get heavy cavalry on the field is always going to do you some pretty wonderful favors in terms of putting pressure on them. Oh my god, the stream. It's dying here. I'm sorry, guys. I just noticed it. This is brutal. Okay. I'm gonna, after this game, I'm gonna jump out and I'm gonna see what I can do about that. I'm hoping that I can solve it, because it's pretty bad right now. Okay, Ripperdactyls. And another really good call-in of an upgraded Final Transmutation, nailing Tic-Tac-Toe and the Ripperdactyls here. But despite all of the good casts of that on the Lord and one of these other very expensive Lizardmen units, the Lizardmen are really taking control of the field. About to get a triple cap here and take the number 3 there. The number 2 and 3 are held. Sorry, the number 1 objective here. Held by the Empire. Only temporarily, though, because these Greatswords are getting absolutely hammered right now by the another unit of Ripperdactyls, man. I really like the aggressive Empire, or the aggressive Lizardmen play against the Empire here. Empire does really well once they get set up in the backfield with all their units, but right now that's just not possible. The entire front line has collapsed. Knights of the Black Rose not trading very well, just being swarmed out by AP units from the Lizardmen. The Zentler's Reichsguard do come out and get a good rout on these red-crested skinks and doing quite a bit of damage. I do like that summon in. This is a very durable cavalry unit. They'll be good for hammering down the Ripperdactyls. If they can catch them when they land, that's the best way to deal with these guys if you cannot get your missiles onto them. But if I were, you know, making a bet, I would say getting these crossbows to just shoot into the Ripperdactyls real quick would be the best call. The Zentler's Reichsguard are going in to help out the Knights of the Black Rose over here, and does manage to save them. Balthazar Gelt flying down in here to help as well. And I think Tic-Tac-Toe died there. I was seeing him routing, but it looks like he might be off the field entirely at this point. It's a decent Uranus Thunderbolt and a good follow-up with the Cold One Riders flattening the Huntsman here. Doing a lot of damage to that very expensive ROR. Maybe going to be able to deal with those guys. The Ripperdactyls are able to get on the crossbows and start routing them. These guys just slow-walking their way off the battlefield. Not a bad call for them personally, but not great for the Empire because there's a huge position of Lizard Infantry on the objective here. It is mostly skinks, but that's still a lot of cap weight that the Empire's going to have to deal with, and rear charging on top of these greatswords that are rallying here. Getting rid of this, the infantry counter here is a very good use of the Ripperdactyls, and then you can just fly on top of the Zentler's Reichsguard and get on their rear and start doing a lot of work against them. But we've got some Knights of the Black Rose and Blazing Sun countercharging the Ripperdactyls while they're on the ground. The shock damage will be pretty nice against these guys. We're going to have to see if that's going to be able to make a difference, because they do get a little trapped up, and another Ripperdactyl coming in to support their brothers in arms and getting rid of the Knights of the Blazing Sun here, who are very tattered. Got a decent amount of value out of them, but certainly not enough to pay for themselves. And Zentler's Reichsguard, this ends up being the problem. Once Empire State troops don't have a front line that they're holding, you've got stuff like this happening in your backfield as Empire, where you've just got lizards swarming all over your deployment zones, while your cavalry go out and try to sweep up and maybe get you a point back, but you just get surrounded by quicker units just swarming all over you. I mean, very difficult to deal with. An excellent micro from Himbo here. Flattening another greatsword with the Cold One Riders. These guys have been pretty crucial so far. All of those Cold One Riders have been doing some pretty good work, getting into favorable battlefield positions, fighting and grinding down the Empire Knights, who, like I said, they're the key to the Empire's battlefield control. If you can't get your knights developed onto the field and protect your artillery and other ranged pieces, you're gonna go down pretty quickly more often than not, just because Empire State troops are just a little lacking. You know, leadership is better than a lot, but you know, the armor, poor weapon strength, and really mediocre stats tend to end up being a huge letdown. If you end up having to rely on them. And Balthazar Gelt here gets surrounded by the, getting in here and getting on top of Balthazar Gelt with the Ripperdactyls and doing a lot of damage to him. A veteran player could just change their name and pretend to be new. It has happened in the past. But, you know, I spectated a lot of these folks last time around, so I'm not really afeared that there's any chicanery going on this time around. But that's a pretty good observation to make. But you know, it happened a long time back, and the community's much more aware of it now. A little bit of a that's a Searing Doom coming in from Balthazar Gelt, doing some good damage to the Source Warriors. Thought for a minute it was the Uranus Thunderbolt coming in, and Tic-Tac-Toe is making an appearance, back out on the field, doing his thing, just flying around out here. Love the weapon he's got, it's very cool. Stop flapping your wings, please. I want to take a look at the, it's like a bone sword, like teeth on it and stuff. Very interesting. Really love the designs in this game, man. It's one of the reasons that you can really just keep coming back to it again and again. This is a Uranus Thunderbolt, and that is really well placed. It's going to hit all of these Royal Outdoor Griffites here. It's a very expensive unit, doing nasty damage to them, killing several models there, and just, I mean, look how much damage it took off. I mean, they went from pretty much full health down to about half after getting hit with that and fighting against these Feral Cold Ones. Feral Cold Ones are pretty heavily countered by Royal Outdoor Griffites, but they do have AP and pretty good weapon strength, so they can certainly put a little bit of a beating back in. And it's going to end up going in the way of the Lizards. Son of Heaven, calling it there. Really well played, but kind of difficult to salvage your positions when that's going on. You've got Lizards all over your back lines, just swarming over you, taking all of the objectives out from under you, and that's pretty painful. It does happen, though. Man, Hunter's Himbo, great game, really well played. Look at this, 1,500 on these Cold One Riders. You've got 1,500 and 1,600 on these Ripperdactyls, respectively. And, you know, Skinks did okay. Pretty good value on a couple of them. And the Sauruses, man, they just got in there. They got some pretty decent value. None of them paying for themselves except this one here. But all of them doing a good job of working through the Empire State Troopers, which is really all they needed to do. Alright, that's game one, guys. We're probably going to go see if we've got any replays that I can just drop in here. And we'll go from there, and we'll just keep the games rolling. Hopefully there won't be as much lag as there was in that one, since we'll be doing replays from here on out until the semis and grands. I'm going to keep trying to figure out how to stabilize the stream. It's been a little messy so far, so I do apologize for that, guys. But I think I finally got it sorted. Okay, guys. Back out here. We'll go look around. Alright. We're getting our replays in. Let me do a little bit of administrative work here. And I find the right spot to drop them in and everything. I do appreciate how easy the process is, though. So thank you, Creative Assembly, for making this something that isn't, you know, tremendously difficult for people to figure out how to do. I mean, if you're ever wondering how to submit replays, all you have to do is go into your user profile on Windows. You go to roaming and you go to Total War Warhammer 3 and make sure that you enable viewing hidden files, and then you can go in and you can see the replay folders and all of the replays in it, and you can just drag and drop it in and out. It's pretty straightforward, so if you were ever wondering. Alright. So we've got Navi and Corvus Glaive here. So Navigator and Bongo are the Discord names for these folks, but I'll just go with their in-game names. And it's going to be Tzeentch versus the Dowie here, which is a great matchup. Very fun. Thank you, Mimi. That's very kind of you. Oh, and Teutonic. Yeah, Tic-Tac-Toe's not a super common choice, but I kind of like him against Empire. Tic-Tac-Toe's nice and cheap, and pretty good combatant, so very nice choice against the Empire because they also have a lot of flying lords. And you can do some pretty good work against them with that guy, because he's like 800 gold or something with all of his abilities stripped off. It's kind of insane how cheap he is. Village the Curseling out on the field here. we've got Acold Hellbrass wandering in with them. So a foot squad is a pretty interesting choice, but a good one against the Dowie. You know, typically you'll see bigger flying lords for Tzeentch, you know, people like Kairos and the Exalted Chicken. But if you need something very durable and reliable, Village is your guy. I mean, just absolutely rock-solid stats. You know, no AP, but Acold's going to help make up for that. And then also just really difficult for Dowie to kill. Has a passive barrier replenishment ability, Paragon of Change here. Barrier replenish 0.2% per second in 35-meter radius, which is actually decently large. You can see it going off here. There you go. The little shimmering aura around him. That's the radius for the ability there. And the Chaos Warriors are just going to move up onto the number 1. We've got more Chaos Warriors, Sour Guts, Chromatic Abominations, and a Fury Swarm. Love to see the Fury Swarms. Very typical. But Chaos Warriors taking some nasty damage from the cannons out here. And we've got an Organ Gun out on the field, too. Oh, Organ Guns are so sick. They've got a much shorter range than the cannons do. 440 versus 300, but I do believe that they're within range of the number 1. Oh, just out of range. What you could do is the... whoops, wrong button. Getting the tools up. What you can do here is to kind of fall back as Tzeentch. You don't need to advance any further here. You know, making a line up along here is not necessarily the best idea when your opponent has this many cannons and the like. And taking an engagement this deep into your opponent is a very risky proposition. So I would say the best thing to do is just fall back and take the damage from the cannon just because, you know, you can't get out of range of it. But getting in range of the Organ Gun, not a great call. Although we're going to see how it plays out for Tzeentch because I've been proven wrong in the past. And we do have a ton of Furies here and doing a really good job of keeping those Furies in the tree line here. That's going to mitigate most of the missile damage. Just firing into trees reduces accuracy, actually. Something that you may or may not know. And also, the tree tops and actual physical tree models will block the missiles themselves. So, using these Furies as aggressively as they're being used right now, getting on top of these Trollhammer torpedoes back here. They are heavily armored, but they have very low melee attack and melee defense, and they're starting to take some nasty damage, and they're really close to the edge of the battlefield here. Might just end up routing off if not microed very carefully, but some Slayers do come out, and they're threatening here. They're going to take some pretty vicious damage from these Furies, though, if they do get jumped on top of, and we just got 4 Furies out here. Super heavy metal from the Tzeentch players so far, and 1 Chaos Warrior with the Lord and the Hero diving into some Chaos Warriors in the front line, getting a little bit safer from the Organ Gun and the cannon, but the Chromatic Abominations taking the worst of it here. Losing these guys does hurt a lot, but you are holding all of the objectives. You need to be really careful, though, because there is a big value deficit going in right now. I'm presuming, yeah, we've got a pretty beat-up Chaos Warrior here. We've got the Chromatic Abominations. They're like a 750 gold unit. And Furies, man, Furies are trying to make up the difference here. They're just jumping on top of these Trollhammer torpedoes. Corvus Glaive is getting the Slayers to try and help out against these guys, but really good control by Na'vi, just jumping back up into the air every time those Slayers threaten to jump back in there and get some damage on those guys. Quarrelers firing in. They're not going to do too hot firing in the woods here. But the number 3 objective being held by the Dowie, just barely. Acold's starting to take some nasty damage. Who's doing that to him? Is he getting shot by the Organ Gun? Or the cannon? What's going on here? Oh, the cannon is sniping out Village right now. I have not ever seen that before, so that's a pretty good call. Acold Hellbrass also taking some pretty vicious damage from the guns here. But Centaurs come out, and they do get on top of the cannon crew. There's so many Dowie units back here in the forest trying to protect against the Furies that nothing was done about this Centaur unit just getting right up on the organ gun. Slayers are responding now, pushing them back, but a huge Infernal Gateway is just dunking on these Dwarf Warriors back here and doing a ton of damage, wrecking those units. Very nice, but Akold is really beaten up here. He does have the Breath of Life, but if he gets routed and chased off the field, that healing is not going to make a difference. That's a huge catch for the Dowie here. They have a massive value lead right now. I don't know how it's so skewed. I mean, losing the Chromatic Abominations, and I guess the Lord and more Chaos Warriors, just proving to be immensely punishing for the forces of Tzeentch here. Great targeting with the artillery. 800 value here, 2,300 value on the organ gun. Oh my goodness. Proving to be the tech piece that the Dowie needed in this matchup so far. Village might outright die from another volley from those organ guns, but dude, does rout. I thought he was going to get around the corner of that building there. More organ gun shots coming through, putting him down even lower. 600 health on him. Akold does rally. That's pretty huge. Village just needs to hide or get out of range of these cannons, man. If they kill him, it's going to be game for Tzeentch, probably. The Fury Swarm is doing pretty good work still back here. They're very healthy. They're just dogpiling on top of all the Dwarf reinforcements. And the Furies do finally jump on top of the organ gun and the cannon, which needed to happen maybe a little bit sooner, because these things have just been doing work so far. 2,500, 900 on these guys. Vicious volley from the miners with blasting charges here, obliterating the Sour Guts. That's a great use of blasting charges. Always try to use blasting charges against lower armor units, and you'll profit every single time. Those things just have great base missile strength. You can see the armor-piercing explosive damage isn't that high. So, Chaos Warriors, if you want to tank shots from organ guns, use Chaos Warriors. If you want to do damage with the blasting charges, hit low-armored units. And those Trollhammer torpedoes, they're actually alive. 17 models, they're very tattered. But they got a nice volley on the Centaurs there. Although, looking like they might be going down here, and, you know, they'll be going to the Hall of Ancestors. Grungni will welcome them with open arms, assuredly, as they are absolutely torn to pieces by shrieking monstrosities and gigantic Centaurs with huge dual-handed axes, man. Love those things. And the artillery is offline for the Dwarves. Is Tzeentch going to be able to make their way back into this game? I was really scared for Tzeentch there, but killing the organ gun, getting rid of those Iron Drakes, and the Fury Swarms are completely unanswered. Look at the value on the Furies so far. 700 on these guys, 900 here, another 700 and 700 here. And they're all pretty healthy still. A nice Iron Drake volley getting in there, doing a little bit of poke against these guys is the Tzeentch Lord. Village back here with his 500 health and 100 overshield. Just chilling, making the right call there. And we'll see if Tzeentch is going to be able to grind back into this game. Value-wise, they're not doing hot, but they've got all of the objectives now, and the Dwarves are looking pretty tattered. Corvus Glaive is a little bit banked up, but not an obscene amount, honestly. Man, oh man, what the heck happened here? I mean, just the Furies getting in there and chasing stuff off the edge of the map here, I would assume, is what's been going on. Jumping on top of Quarrelers, getting on top of Slayers, ripping them up, and blocking up the Iron Drakes of both varieties here and pushing them back. And this is usually how Dwarves end up losing a game, is they just can't get onto objectives after value trading. I was very skeptical when Tzeentch was taking such an aggressive fight, but it's really paying off for them in the late game here, as they are just using superior mobility to get around the battlefield and knock over all of these Dwarves, pinballing them around with the Centaurs. Really good use of the mobility pieces. And, you know, The Chaos Gods demand sacrifices, and the Chaos Warriors came in knowing what the rub was. They weren't expecting decent treatment. They're fighting for their lives out here, man. Just holding up Slayers and Dwarf Warriors while very tattered Sour Guts fire in, get a little bit of value back. And A-Cold, man, not chasing A-Cold off and getting a kill on him, proving to be a little punishing because he's just out here healing up. He's got plenty of room left on his heal cap. Oh, love the sword animations on him. He's so cool, man. He's got, like, force powers, you know, doing, like, the lightsaber throw and stuff. Pretty interesting unit there. Master Engineer is back here, being shut down. Belagar is in the middle of the battlefield with, like, just a handful of Slayers over here. A little bodyguard that's getting roasted by the Sour Guts here. He's going to get into combat, though, and do some pretty good work, man. He's just so durable. I mean, his melee attack and melee defense are pretty obscene. So he's difficult to kill, but he's also not the most impactful Lord in the world, just because, you know, he doesn't have a ton of abilities that are outside of his direct radius. You know, Mighty Oathstone is good, and Revenge Incarnate's great, but this is a personal ability. It just buffs himself up, and this is just in a 35-meter radius around him, and, you know, being by himself, it's not going to be impacting much. Iron Drakes here, or Iron Breakers, sorry, desperately trying to get their blasting charges off onto the Centigores. These guys are just out of range, but they are just in range, actually. So getting a nice volley here, maybe going to kill these guys, but they are completely surrounded and going to get torn to pieces by those Centigores. Amazingly well-played game by Tzeentch there. I'm shocked, honestly. All of the damage from the organ gun and the cannon in the early going, I thought, was going to put this game out of reach for Tzeentch, but a really well-played game, grinding back in value and just taking over, man. That's why you don't give up. It's sometimes you'll surprise yourself how often you can grind your way out of a what looks like an unwinnable deficit can quickly turn out to not be so. Those Furies were absolutely insane. I mean, 1,500 value, 1,200, 800, 1,100. Always been the bane of the Dowie's existence. They just don't have anything fast enough to punish these guys. How you deal with Furies is rear charging them with shot cavalry and getting on top of them with like high DPS units, and the Dowie just don't have enough of that. Just not enough. They were pretty narrow as well. The Iron Drakes and the like are a good tech piece in theory, but with the Fury Swarms, they just got shut down and couldn't do anything. Damn. Great stuff, Navi. Alright, let's go jump in here. We're going to download a few more games. Some people are putting them up. Alright, guys. Back to the pile. We're going to be doing Fabrosi and Ash, and then mystery people, just Beastman and High Elf, is what the replay says. Yeah, I gotta jump out and jump back in. Alright, Fabrosi versus Ash. It's going to be Wood Elves versus Vampire Coast here. Oh my god. Huge Vampire Coast build and a really narrow Wood Elf build, so it's going to be a wild one for sure. I don't know. Wood Elves are one of the best skirmish factions in the game. They've got quite a few good units out here to poke at the missile pieces, but the mortars are going to be pretty dangerous for those Deepwood Scouts. And even the Glade Riders. The Glade Riders can kite away from a lot of this mortar fire. But it's easier said than done when there's 3 of them on the field. I mean, these things are actually pretty great because they're inaccurate. It can make it difficult to judge where exactly all their shots are going to land, because it's a huge spread, so if you've got multiples of them, it's going to do pretty good work, and they're just great against lightly armored units. I mean, 15 armor on the Deepwood Scouts and the Glade Riders here. Orion is going to be in a pretty good spot. Very powerful duelist, great melee attack. Okay, melee defense. Does he have the Aisha's Cloak? Cloak of Aisha's here. 20% ward safe and a passive heal when under 25% health. Much more difficult to kill outright than you might think. The fire in from the Glade Riders, poking a little bit against the gunnery mobs. He is going to be pretty vulnerable to these pistol mob guys. And man, oh man, I don't know what the Wood Elves are going to do to clear out this front line. I mean, it's just so wide. There's just deckhand mobs and polearms into the sunset, backing up all of this shooting. We've got the deck gunners. They are in range of the Glade Riders. Definitely needed to target down the deck gunners here ASAP, which it does look like Ash is on top of. Doing a really good job of getting free value, and Fabrosi needs to get orders in for these guys to start doing shooting and hit these guys. They're pretty bunched up, and the deck gunners have piercing shots, so they'll do pretty good damage. Microing them back is not going to work out. I mean, the range on these Glade Riders, you can see how far back they can reach. So trying to run when you're this deep into the firing arc of a unit like this is not worth it, but you can see those mortars, man, dropping some fire in there. Taking 2 Glade Riders down to about half health already is pretty vicious stuff. Dryads getting real deep into the deployment zone here. They're going right after the Scurvy Dog unit that they've sniffed out, which is a good call. Scurvy Dogs, very good at chasing down Deepwood Scouts who have pretty poor melee stats, and yeah, shutting them down is going to give these Deepwoods a good opportunity. Getting rid of one of the mortars, which pushed up way too far. Got to be really careful with your artillery. The best thing to do is to just creep them up and just line them up in a straight row, and just get them firing in as soon as possible. Losing one there and losing the deck gunners, and the Wood Elves are keeping it pretty close here. One Glade Rider has been beaten up pretty terribly by the mortars, and there is a Carronade on the field now. Very interesting call-in. If it can fire, it's going to do pretty good work against this blob of Glade Riders here, but Orion is on top of the artillery crew here. Killing off one of the actual artillery pieces, and fighting the Vampire Fleet Admiral here with the pistol. Polearm's trying to move in and help out, but Orion is just getting... He's getting crunk in the backline here. Tossing in spears, killing off zombies left and right, man. And some Sirens fighting against Dryads, not a great trade. This is an ethereal unit against, you know, a unit that does take extra damage from magical attacks, but does have magic damage themselves. Dryads are going to trade much more favorably in that fight, despite the debuffs and the magic attacks that the Sirens have themselves. Not going to be enough for those Wailing Women to win their fight, unfortunately. Angry Treekin, man, are pretty great unit, man. Deckhand mobs wandering around out here, not really knowing where to go. They are capping up the objective. Wraiths of the Frozen Heart already torn through one deckhand mob, it looks like, and they're going to be going after another. Very good unit. Crazy melee attack. 54, they have Frenzy, and they have a slow. They've got the Chilling Aura as well as Frostbite, so they can double slow stuff. Both of those abilities do stack. You can go from like 90 speed down to about 40. Just getting into combat against those guys. Very dangerous unit to deal with. Rotting Promethean Summon is coming out and trying to push back the Deepwood Scouts, who are pretty unbothered right now. All of the cannons and the mortars are going down. Orion has killed off all of them pretty much single-handedly, except for this one. This one being shut down by the Dryads, who did win their fight against the Sirens. Glowing Ethereal Daggers, anybody? You know, finest pieces in the land for 500 gold pieces. Glade Riders shooting down some Sirens. I actually think this is the Siren unit, and they disengaged. Which just left the Dryads completely free to kill that mortar, which was your only answer to all of the mobile units that the Wood Elves have, actually using the Wild Hunters of Kurnus here to kill the summon, doing a lot of damage to them and stopping them from chasing the Deepwood Scouts any further back. Really good battlefield control from the Wood Elf player here. And I really don't know if it's going to be possible for the forces of the Vampire Coast here to make it happen in this game, because they really needed those mortars. They really needed a lot of that shooting. Almost killing Orion back here, but, you know, he's got that heal. He can just sit here and fight all day, probably. He is unbreakable. You know, killing him is a really risky endeavor, even in his beleaguered state. Scurvy Dogs, Mournguls, Depth Guard, all fighting him. He does manage to squeak away, and he's just running. He's just laughing, man. He's got all of the cards in his pocket at this point, pulling them out at will, and imposing it on the Vampire Coast here. 1,700 value, man. How have the abilities been getting used? Hounds of Orion's been used all 3 times. Getting pretty good value on those, I would assume, and just completely surrounded here for the Vampire Coast. Number 2 objective taken. Number 1 is held by vampires, but it's not going to be for much longer, and losing this home objective as well is probably going to spell doom for Vampire Coast in its totality here. Scurvy Dogs get some good damage on these Glade Riders and do kill them. Really would have loved to have seen maybe a little bit better use out of these Scurvy Dogs. Instead of using the Rotting Prometheans alone to chase, summoning them out was a good idea just to chase the Deepwoods back, but following it up with Scurvy Dog pressure would have been really nice. You know, you get all of these guys that have been running around the battlefield trying to help the frontline fight and use them to take out the Deepwoods, and you're putting yourself in a much better position than if you just use one summon to kite these guys around. Nasty damage going in on the Deepwoods there. What hit them? Oh, Tide Call. Good use of the magic there from the Fleet Admiral. He's got 1,800 value. Wow. That's pretty nice. Definitely getting some good work out of that Tide Call. And Denizens of the Deep just getting on top of random units and chasing other stuff back. Ariel out here casting her little magic missiles. Dart of Doom is a pretty good use of that. Berry Wine's been used. Looks like it was probably used on Orion here, who's pretty much up to full. His passive healing definitely wouldn't be doing that. I might be from Southwest Pennsylvania. Nah, way off. I am living in Michigan now, but I'm actually from Alabama. Very glad to be out of there, honestly. Hellish state. Wild Hunters of Kurnus taking some damage from the Tide Call there. And we've got, you know, these frenzied Wild Riders getting 1,300 value. Apotheosis getting popped on them. Good heals from Ariel as well, man. Very, just a versatile caster. She's got Tempest here. I would guess that is just a hedge bets against Luther Harkin being brought in. Actually, I'm wondering how much utility she really genuinely has here in this matchup, because so far she's been doing great work. 1,000 value on her too, and not a bad melee combatant either. I mean, 40-50 magic damage and 440 weapon strength. That's pretty good, truthfully. Orion, 2,100 value, killing off Depth Guard and some Mournguls. Yet again, proving his prowess, man. You love to see it. Big, expensive lords like this oftentimes don't get brought, you know, in favor of going a lot wider. But proving here that it can be done, bringing somebody like this onto the battlefield. And, you know, would have been pretty good against Luther Harkin, too. Just because he can actually, you know, throw that spear. Do some pretty good work with it. It's got crazy missile damage. And you can see here, every 8 seconds it's going to be doing 360 damage. 280 of that is fully armor-piercing. Zote's coming out to control more of the battlefield. And you've just got a few zombies out here. I'm going to go ahead and fast-forward this. Unlucky for Fabrosi. Not able to really form a line here. in the early going. Where I'm drawing here is probably where the battle line, like the actual infantry, get up here. The missiles can all kind of hide in the forest line here and fire out onto the wood elves, doing some pretty good damage. And you really got to play close to your chest against these guys. You can see how effective the fire from the Deepwood Scouts has been. They haven't gotten incredible value, but they've really out-traded the missiles. And you got to be careful not to let your deck gunners and mortars just wander up into range of your enemy's bow units. They're very squishy, very vulnerable, so being a little bit more cognizant of that will definitely do you a lot of favors in the future for Brosi. But it was pretty well scrapped there despite that. So I gotta tip my hat to you. Really well played by Ash, knowing exactly how to deal with the forces of the Vampire Coast. Look at that, 311 kills on the Race of the Frozen Heart, and still didn't pay for themselves. That's how you know you're fighting the undead. Alright, guys. Next match. Beastmen versus High Elves here. Kudaki and Fallen Effian here. We're going to jump into it. I'm going to pop out for just a second and go check and see if anybody else has dropped any games. Not yet. Everybody is playing round 2, though, so we'll be getting more as those games are finished and developed on. Alright. So, wow, okay. Good call on the Zangors, and one Pestigore in the opening, just to answer any cavalry in the back line. Use it as a sweeper unit. That's what Pestigores oftentimes are best used for. Wood Elves the strongest faction? Yeah. Right now they are. They do have unfavorable matchups, though. They're not just blanket the strongest faction in that they beat everybody. They can beat everybody, but they do struggle in certain matchups. Tzeentch and Dowie can sometimes be iffy for them if the Dowie player knows what they're doing. Who else do they struggle against? Maybe Norska. Although Norska does have a lot of them all over the Wood Elves right now. You've got Nerexa, Charix. Who else plays Wood Elves a lot? I'm not 100% sure, but I know that those two for sure play a lot of Wood Elves. And they're currently the number 1 and 2, or the 1 and 3 on the Total Tavern leaderboard right now. So they're definitely inflating the win rate just a little bit. Kislev is probably the faction that has absolutely zero bad matchups. They're not unbeatable, but their baseline abilities, Buyer Blood and the like, are absolutely obscene. Fiery Convocation coming down. Does get a little bit of damage out there, but not the greatest cast of it, but Beastmen are just going all out right now. Zangors and Pestigores getting on top of these Illyrian Reavers, microing the Ungor Raiders away from that fight. Probably need to tuck them back in here. Yeah, because the Illyrian Reavers are jumping on them. We'll see if something can be done to save those guys. Minotaurs with great weapons coming out onto the battlefield here. And we've just got Spearmen and White Lions trying to fight off these swarms of Zangors and Ungor Raiders here. Herds everywhere, man. Oh my goodness, the Beastman pressure is all over the place. They just came out, they got around the sides here, they just came right up the middle, and they've got a huge opening here in the battle line. So if they really wanted to, they could start getting some units out here to jump on these Lothern Sea Guard and maybe push around into the rear on top of this other unit if they wanted to. But they are winning the frontline fight, so I don't know if they really need to go that deep. Just because they've got Minotaurs on top of this Noble. White Lions are getting worked down by the Zangors and Ungor herds. Spearmen are holding, they're going to do pretty well, but they're not going to win any of these melee engagements. And the Centigores with throwing axes, man, proving their prowess, getting right out onto the flank. Got a nice volley on those Spearmen, but they are getting jumped on top of here by the forces of Kudaki, which is a pretty good play there. Good job getting them on top of the Centigores and boxing them out. Fallen Effian definitely needs to be a little bit more on top of these guys and pull them back, but taking a very wide engagement. You know, it's hard to pay attention to everything when you're being pulled this way and that, when you've got such a wide fight happening. The spearmen here, they're technically no, it looks like it's going back for the beastmen now. They were temporarily flipping the point. The Illyrian Reavers, they're very tattered, but they can definitely jump back out and get cycle charges going. Just doing damage against the Gore Herds here would be a good idea. Oh yeah, they can get on top of these Ungor Raiders too, so next time maybe just disengage fully, loop all the way around, and get on top of those bow units. Ungor Herds jumping on top of Lothern Seaguard here. That's a very nice use of a expendable unit. Shutting down a pretty expensive anti-large unit that also doubles as a archer. And Gore Herds coming in. They're going to do some nasty damage. They've got crazy weapon strength. They got a 5 bonus versus infantry. 41 melee attack at base. That's definitely going to get around the melee defense of these Lothern Seaguard. Martial prowess be damned. You know, Goatman Fury is all you really need to win a fight at the end of the day. Ungor Raiders arcing up their fire. You got 2 of these guys here, a little layered on top of one another, and that was a really nice soul quench right down the line, doing good damage. Is Eltharion on that cast, but he's not looking too hot here. All of his spells are on the table. That's a very expensive spell kit. You can definitely cut down on this and just focus in on bringing spells that are most relevant to your caster character and in the matchup that you're fighting. Bringing all of the spells ends up being a waste oftentimes because you're not using all of them. You can also overwhelm yourself with the number of options that you have. It's nice to have some versatility in your caster, but this is just a little too much. Just pare this down some, and you'll do a little bit more with less, truthfully. Fallen Ephians just got this game on lock so far. Great aggression, getting in all over the place, and the throwing axes. How much value have they gotten? They haven't gotten anything too crazy, but providing some effective fire into the rear of Rangers and Spearmen where applicable. Minotaurs here, 1,000 value. They did kill the Noble. Yeah, they outright killed him, and they're on top of poor Eltharion out here. And we got a Cygor summon. Whoa, okay. So this is the Savage Dominion spell from the Brayshame and Wild, and it gets a nice shot into those Rangers and Illyrian Reavers, man. Doing some good work, picking off quite a few models there. 23 kills. Cygors are very underrated right now, in my opinion. Beastman mobility is typically what you see the most of, but do not count these guys out. They have great splash damage on those boulders, and they can hit single entities, they can hit multi-model targets. Obviously, they're really good against infantry, so I really like the use of that summon there, man. I have seen a Traderkin cast, so that is also on the table, and another one's going to be coming out here. Doing good damage against the Illyrian Reaver Archers. This isn't the best target for it. Traderkin is best against, you know, units with like 16 or so models. It'd be pretty good against the War Lions if they came out. But it is very consistent, and it does outright kill models on cavalry units. So it can be very effective if you get it overlapped onto multiple cavalry targets. Rangers, man, struggling against all of these angry beasties, man. Minotaurs going ham in the front lines. Bulls on parade, and they're just going all out. 1,400 value on these guys, charging up Blood Greed all the while, making them even better in melee combat as they go, is really nice, man. Minotaurs are just about one of the most cost-effective units you can use. They are certainly not invincible, though. They suffer pretty hard when you've got like multiple counters to them on the field. They've got low armor, and that can hurt them a lot when they get charged down by enemy units. And, you know, shooting them is the best way to deal with them, but if you have to get in there and charge them down with something, just like a cheap shot cav can actually do good work against them, and trade upwards into them pretty efficiently. But that's for the Beastman variant. The Khorne Minotaur variant has much higher armor, and you do not want to engage them in melee ever. Do not engage Khorne Taurs in melee. Beastman Minotaurs, very situationally. Unless it's something that's dedicated anti-large, just don't get into melee combat against them. Lyrian Reavers here getting knocked out. Centaurs just chasing them down. Really good value on all these Centaurs. This tends to be what happens against Beastmen if you don't get a good initial engagement. You get pushed back, and then you get completely tabled. And very unfortunate for Kadaki. But, you know, scrapping in here, even in the late game, bringing out a big wave of reinforcements. Honestly, this isn't the worst idea in the world. If you're losing really hard, summoning a bunch of units out of one deployment zone and trying to retake an objective can work out for you. Just because you've actually got some forces to support one another. Although, bringing these Illyrian Reavers out here, I assume he's about to just send them into combat over here, which is not the move. Just ignore the objective and just try and scrap a little bit. I know that the score is pretty much over. You know, you're down 4,700 to nothing. That's pretty painful, but, you know, good tactics for the future and things to keep in mind. When you're summoning your units out, you want to make sure that they're coming out where they're either supporting or being supported. And just throwing stuff like Illyrian Reavers into giant blobs of Beastman infantry is not a great call. So, definitely noted away for the future. Just rolled Wood Elves to focus on for a while. Like, you're playing them a bunch, because that's a good call. They're a nice faction to have in the back pocket. They are not for me, personally. I'm a huge Chaos faction enjoyer. But it's really nice seeing how many people are playing Wood Elves now. Alright. Downloading some more replays, and we're going to just keep jumping through them as we go. I want to see how these end up being. Quite a few one-sided matches so far, but that's alright. You know, I have been rolled many times by my opponent, so there's absolutely no shame in losing in this game. You know, it can come down to build, unfamiliarity with matchups. There's so many factors that you have to keep in mind. But everybody's been scrapping here. Nobody's just throwing in games. And I'm excited to see how they end up shaping out. You know, you can see somebody get rolled in one round and then just come right back and sweep the rest of the tournament. So we're going to be seeing Navigator versus Impepinable. I'm Pepinable. Okay, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but we're going to jump and watch this match. We got Pep and Navi. We've got the Chaos Lord and Exalted Hero core with a Sorcerer, I presume, on horseback. Don't know what spells he's got. It's not showing me right now. Tooltips are very inconsistent. We've got some Spearmen, Zangors, 2 Warriors, and the Sour Guts for a nice elite army for the forces of Tzeentch, and the High Elves are coming in with the Fireborn Tyrion. Tyrion is so great. Really good Lord to have against the forces of Chaos with flaming and magical attacks, and also just outright one of the best duelists in the game. Sunfang is pretty good for clearing out pinks, so it's going to do... And for the Marauders who have really low armor. It does not have any AP, so don't use it on Chaos Warriors. That's a big waste. That's a big no-no in my book. Got some Rangers, Vanguard over here, Lothern Seaguard out here. And we're just going to jump on in. Tyrion, yep, on horse. Talons of Torquilida, Silverin Guard, and Flamespire Phoenix is a very interesting choice. Gonna be very vulnerable to the hero core here. Oh, and the Sorcerer of Metals on the disc as well, so full-on flying core here. Exalted Hero, Chaos Lord, and the Sorcerer of Metal on their little discs. Book of Secrets is on the field. It's got some pretty good effects, the best being Fate of Buna. You'll, basically delete a infantry unit, provided they don't have spell resistance like Sylvarans do. Sylvarans are pretty nice just because they've got the 30% spell resistance and good stats. Got Assume Command, Meeting of the Minds for, intensity of spell casts. It's going to be charging up these guys over time. Sentient Storm Cloud, Change Your Die, and Colossal Strike. Pretty typical kit for the Lord there. Let's see, yeah, Colossal Strike and Book of Secrets. So, the Hero Corps is going after the Lothern Seaguard out here, and also just kind of scouting the trees. Curious, it looks like the dive is going to go in on the Lothern Seaguard with the Furies, while the Hero Corps is going to rip this Flame Spire Phoenix apart. Do not do something like this. You know, this Flame Spire Phoenix is pretty durable. It does have the Rebirth ability, so it can get passive heals over time. But fighting 3v1 against anything, it doesn't matter how good the units are. This could be a Star Dragon, and this would be a bad fight. Just because these guys, they'll surround, they'll both be attacking at the same time, and you can see how much damage the Flame Spire Phoenix is taking already. Really, really, really suffering here in this combat. Gotta get this bird away. Losing this now would be pretty painful. We've got Lothern Seaguard. They're getting charged down by the Furies, and the Fireborn are just out here completely idle at the moment. Gotta remember your Vanguarded units. Getting these guys down to take out these Furies and help the Lotherns would be huge right now. Just make it an easier time for yourself. Don't overstretch your micro, especially when you're starting out. Taking these very aggressive Vanguards on a big map like this can pay off dividends if played properly, but this is a little too spread out. Like, even for me, I would not be able to keep track of all this. You know, you've got a limited field of view for your camera, unless you're using the debug camera, which, you know, I would recommend against. You know, the debug camera is, like, nice to be able to see the entire battlefield, but you know, you miss, you kind of are missing out seeing all the animations and everything. So, you know, out of sight, out of mind often ends up being my downfall. So, I imagine that's kind of what's going on with Pep. Doing a good job of countercharging the Centaurs of Tzeentch here. The Rangers did get messed up. They got hit pretty hard by these guys. Gonna get kited out now. Good control by Navi. You know, Navi's playing a pretty clean game right now. Just using the hero squad to go after the SEs and double teaming all of these very powerful fighters and, you know, flying units. Chased off the Flame Spire Phoenix on top of Tyrion here. Tyrion's fighting back, though. He's doing some good damage to the Sorcerer of Metal. So probably pulling the Sorcerer out and just leaving the two dedicated combat characters here would be the way to go. These guys have huge bonus versus large, both of them with 25 and 35 respectively. You can see Tyrion definitely chasing down this Sorcerer of Metal on the disc is a good call. What is going on here? This is wild. What is happening? Okay, does get the Sorcerer of Metal up in the air. After some classic Warhammer chase cheese. I don't even know what was going on there. Heart of Avalorn does get popped, keeping Tyrion nice and healthy, but it does go on cooldown. So, if you ever have a situation like this, do exactly what Navi is doing. You know, Tyrion did just get a fat heal, and you might be thinking, oh, this is bad, maybe I should disengage. But it does go on 120-second cooldown, Heart of Avalorn pops. So this is actually the perfect opportunity to stick in here and finish him off. Because he's not going to be able to get that other heal, and he's already, I mean, he's almost healing capped anyways. Does get the break on the Lord there. Good collapses with the Centaurs, man. Rolling over what remains of the Fireborn, who just got caught up by all of these Tzeentchian units. Rangers, not enough to support. Silver Guard, you can see how well Silver Guard hold. Even against Chaos Warriors and with a lot of other units around them, they're doing decently. Another Flame Spire Phoenix coming out, but I think it's too little too late here. Sisters of Avalorn are getting some nice fire in here, but they're going to get swamped by these Centaurs in a moment. They're going to run over the Silverhelms here. Good call. in good control, getting the charge order in on the Silverhelms. Cynagors do win that charge pretty heavily, and now they're going to go right in on the Sisters and sweep them up, and the towns of Torquilita are going to be not far behind them. So, going a little too elite with the High Elves here, and not having enough answers to the Tzeentchian cavalry. This is a very winnable matchup for the High Elves, but you got to be really careful. These hero squads for Tzeentch are very dangerous, and I like the Tyrion and I like Tyrion and the Flamespire Phoenix here, but it's leaving very narrow for the rest of the army when you're also bringing the Fireborn. And you're better served bringing Illyrian Reavers because they trade upwards into Centaurs of Tzeentch. These guys trade so heavily upwards into elite cavalry that bringing the Fireborn in the opening army, not the best idea. Bringing a lot of Illyrian Reavers to protect against the Furies and the Centaur swarms is probably your best bet. That'd be my 2 cents. You could also bring in a Bolt Thrower and use its spray fire mode to take out the Sour Guts and the Chaos Warriors and all of those guys. And then with artillery pieces, you've got the ranged advantage at that point. Your opponent's going to have to, push much deeper to get after you, rather than being able to just, play in a nice big line on the center objective, which is kind of what Tzeentch was doing. And, you're going to have a lot more opportunities to pick off Tzeentch units as they move forward when you have more units on the field. I mean, in hiding Tyrion and the... Oh, is it in land battles? Okay, yeah. I can see how that'd be a little annoying. But, that's why I prefer Dom, honestly. Land battles has a lot of stuff like that where you can get draw-kited around, especially on ladder. There's just not a lot of, it's not a lot of rules surrounding it, so it can end up getting a little cheesy. Alright, guys. Incognito versus Hitman Huntress Himbo. Another Imperial Road showdown. We've got a nice artillery line coming in here from Incognito. 2 Carronades. You've got a unit of deck gunners and the Rotting Prometheans on their crabs here. Or, not the Rotting Prometheans are the crabs, but the gunners on top of the Rotting Prometheans. Very solid unit. They have regen and just crazy stats, so they're very durable. And they've always been really good against lizards, because they actually fire the shotguns in melee combat. So they can do some pretty good work against units that are in direct contact with them. The lizards' forces is going to be a couple of salamander hunting packs, javelins, Saurus spears, regular Sauruses, tic-tac-toe again, and a Heaven's Caster. With the Uranus Thunderbolt, Cannon Fire going in, nailing the Skink Priest in the early game here. Huge damage, honestly. And this other Carronade getting some work done on the cohort, getting a couple shots in there, doing some decent work. How did they hit both units? I think they hit the Skink Priest and the cohort there. That's very odd. Ooh, we've got Noctilus on the Necro... whatchamacallit? Not the Necrotex. The Necrofex Colossus. Chilling with the big cannon. 330 range is pretty nice. You've got some Chameleon Skinks coming out of the forest here. Jumping on the number 3. Getting a little bit of fire onto old Noctilus here. 75 armor is okay, but it's not the most in the world. So this is some pretty good pressure. I do really like this. These guys are going to be decently safe. Just need to be on the lookout for Scurvy Dog summons out of the Vanguard. But otherwise, you can just keep poking down Big Boy here. Huge model, and very easy to hit for this skirmish unit. You can see how much damage they've done to him. I mean, taking about 2,800 health off of him already. My goodness. And, yeah, Saurus is just getting really aggressive. This is a good call, because your opponent does have a lot of missiles here. Getting engaged in the front line with your melee infantry as soon as possible is the best thing to do, because it's going to protect them from a lot of the gunfire if they're just kind of up here fighting against all these zombies. It'd be really nice if you could force fire through, you know, units. It would be very flavorful for stuff like Skaven and Vampire Coast, I'm sure. But maybe it would get a little too cheesy. I don't know. It'd be fun to see, though. The zombie gunnery mobs here getting smacked up by the javelin fire here. Really good use out of those guys. It's a very fun unit. You know, they're pretty cheap, and those javelins do some pretty good damage. They got 4 armor piercing and 12 base. They fire pretty quickly, too. So, nice work out of those. We've got some Fellbats coming in. Jumping on top of the Salamander hunting pack. It's a pretty good use of them to shut these guys down. It's a pretty close game so far. Shaping up to be much closer than the last few. I actually do really like this. Using the Rotting Promethean gunnery mob to chase down these chameleon skinks. You know, they've got the regen, really huge armor values, and they're just going to slowly chase these guys down. They do lose a model here, though. That's pretty punishing. I'm surprised that the chameleons can get that much damage in, man. These guys. 900 and 700 value already. Wow, oh, wow. Tic-Tac-Toe is going to help against these Fellbats, who are a little too tattered to do much against these guys. Shutting them down for a minute is nice, but they're going to get re-engaged pretty quickly. Old Noctilus firing in against the javelins here, but I think would be better served firing against the Salamander hunting packs. He's got spread. He's got like a shotgun cannon, basically. It does pretty huge damage. You can see how much those missiles spread out, so it's actually pretty good for counter-firing units like the Salamanders, who are a pretty spread out unit. They've got a pretty wide formation, honestly. Where are the Kyrenades firing? They're shooting down the Ripperdactyls. Ripperdactyls last game for Huntress Himbo were the absolute MVPs, but this game, they're not really finding the opportunity to get engaged like they want to, and it looks like Tic-Tac-Toe is getting nice and tired of all of these ranged pieces just punishing the Sauruses and the Skink cohorts. They are winning these frontline fights, but we've got animated Hulks on top of the Bloody Reaver Debt Guard here. It's going to be very difficult to remove these two units in conjunction. As long as they stay on top of one another here and just keep bouncing into all of the Lizardmen units as they come through, they're going to do a lot of damage because, you know, they've got good armor, they've got the hunger, they've got a ward save activatable ability, and the animated Hulks prevent big dinos from just rolling through them for free. You know, they've got good mass at 1500. They can certainly lock stuff down pretty nicely. Tic-Tac-Toe is cleaning up the deck gunners here, and the Ripperdactyls with 5 models. They've not gotten a lot done, but 2 Ripperdactyls coming in now. Much healthier one getting on top of this Kyrenade. This Kyrenade getting shut down by the much more tattered Ripperdactyl unit. These Fellbats would be really well served coming back here and rear charging the Ripperdactyls. They don't have great melee attack, but, you know, they can still get a little bit of damage in because these guys only have 25 melee defense, making them very squishy. Kyrenade's actually firing a little bit, killing a couple models of the Ripperdactyls, but they do finish up one Kyrenade. They're going to finish this other one up as well, so losing both of the cannons here has really brought Huntress Himbo back into this game. It was being traded very evenly, but getting that lead now is going to start really swinging it for the forces of the Lizards, and the Rotting Prometheans absolutely obliterated by the Salamander hunting pack here. Absolutely amazing micro from Huntress, taking advantage of a overextended elite unit and dealing with them with a very dedicated counter. Regen does give the 20% weakness to fire, so nice use out of the Salamanders there. They've got okay armor-piercing missile damage. Not crazy on the explosive damage, but doesn't really matter too terribly much. Making really good effect on those guys. And poor old Noctilus here, I would guess is going to start taking some pretty vicious damage from the Salamanders. You got a tattered unit back here firing. If you can save this Salamander unit, and, you know, does a good job of swarming with all the skinks, blocking up the scurvy dogs, not letting them tear apart this dedicated ranged tool. It's very nice micro from Huntress. Incognito staying in this game. It is very close, but we've got some gunnery mobs getting taken out by the Ripperdactyls, who are starting to trade really well. I don't know if they're going to be able to finish this fight if the Scurvy Dogs get on top of them. Getting a rear charge here would be pretty huge. But Huntress with really good micro, getting right back up in the sky. And going to just probably find somewhere else on the battlefield to go. Staying away with your... just getting back up in the air with your air units and finding new engagements when stuff starts turning out to be a little less favorable for them is one of the secret micro tricks to just getting more wins. You know, if you can make good effect out of these guys, they're pretty uncontested in choosing engagements. So, you know, you got to be careful with where you get them onto the field. Jumping on top of Noctilus. He is taking nasty damage from the Salamander Hunting Packs, but a Roth's Moondial or the regular summon, the Drowned Dead, coming out there. Looks like it is not the Drowned Dead. It's actually just the Roth's Moondial. They do get on top of the Salamanders and break them. So Noctilus a little safer now, but just completely swamped by Lizard units. And the Bloody Reaver Deck Guard here fighting to the last. Really making it known just how effective of a unit they are, man. Ripping through Saurus and through Ripperdactyls, but I don't know if they're going to be able to survive here. I do believe that Invo just went down on Noctilus, so I don't think they've got a heal available. And their leadership is about to tank completely. If that happens, they're probably going to just completely crumble off the field. And that'd be pretty painful. They've got a lot of healing cap room and could swing the fight for the forces of the Vampire Coast, who are kind of getting a mass rout here. We've got all these Saurus Warriors running now. Where is Tic-Tac-Toe? I've completely missed him. He died somewhere in here. That's catastrophic. Losing your Lord is not great. Lord recently died. The Lizard forces might... If there isn't a rally here, what you do if you lose your Lord and you lose an objective, just back up with everything that you possibly can, rally onto an objective, and start trying to fight back from there. Tic-Tac-Toe is decently cheap, can definitely resummon him and get rid of that really bad leadership debuff. It's minus 10. Not great. Your forces are going to suffer from fear against all of these undead forces, so having a minus 18 leadership debuff naturally against all these guys with terror-causing units on the field is gonna be pretty painful. Definitely pull it all back, re-rally, get ready for another push. You've got a ticket lead. You know, it's 900 to 486. You've got plenty of time. Don't panic and just start throwing units out onto the objective, because that's how you can really start feeding, especially as Vampire Coast. Start summoning out some Mortars and the Black Spot and some other units. Poor old Noctilus, man, running from the Ripperdactyls, the Colossadon Hunters, with 2,200 value, man. They've been doing work. Getting in on Noctilus and taking out some other targets, I'm sure. They do get routed here. It's another big DPS unit that's being taken offline here. And the Vampire Coast also needs to be careful, though. Don't overextend. You can win on 2 objectives here. Just leaving the objective with all of these units and letting the Lizards rally onto it for free is not great. Being a little more cautious with those Morghuls would have really been nice. They've been doing really good work, and they're getting great value. But they're just all alone out here. You know, your opponent, all they need to do is summon out a unit of Feral Cold Ones from this objective point and just go and charge them right there. And they're going to finish off this unit, and they're not going to be on the field providing any power against all of the Sauruses. But I'm really loving this scrap here, man. This game is so close still. Tic-Tac-Toe is back out, mitigating the leadership loss, which is going to help the Lizards immensely in holding this objective. They just recaptured it for free, basically. You can see that the forces of the Vampire Coast are recapping, so they had the means to hold on to this objective for longer, just Like I said, keeping those Morngulls back, not overextending with them, would have helped hold onto this objective, and those zombies very likely could have gotten up in time, and you wouldn't have to be scrapping back for it at this point, because now you're getting close to triple cap territory. That's a much trickier proposition to, retake all 3 objectives, especially as a slow force like the Vampire Coast here. Not a lot of quick units, and the fast stuff you do have is really low armor, scurvy dogs, and Morngulls. The Rotting Prometheans have a lot of armor. They're decently quick, but, better not to rely on them to be trying to cap up. Animated Hulks and the like, though, they are tearing apart these Source Warriors here. So close to killing them. Middle objective is recaptured. Vampire Coast taking care of business and getting Tic-Tac-Toe down to about half health already. Needs to be really careful with them. Count Noctilus probably just can run to the edge of the map and stay back here. No ammo, probably out of magic at this point. Not going to have a lot to do, honestly. Losing leadership on vampire factions is also really punishing. Crumbling does do decent damage to all of your forces, so want to avoid that as much as possible with these guys. Deckhand mobs and pistols, as well as the black spot, are just slowly moving up to the objective, and gonna find some good targets to shoot at if they can get in range of the salamanders. Fellbats shutting down the salamander hunting pack for quite a while here. Really nice. They are back online, but not before the Source Warriors are dealt with. Red-crested skinks are really low, and these skink javelins are probably going to rout too, which means that this huge blob of vampire forces are probably going to be able to pressure the number 1 in a moment here. If given the opportunity, they're going to need to. They are in triple cap territory here. Oh, I don't know who's going to win this game, man. Going after the salamanders here is not a bad call. It's going to get very dangerous because there are Saurus Spears coming out. They're going to be really nice against all of these animated Hulks who are getting very separated from all of these deckhand mobs here. We've got a scurvy dog flank being prepped up here, it looks like. Gotta pull the trigger on that, though, right now. There we go. Moving in. Gonna be getting on top of the skink cohorts. So, Incognito with some pretty smooth plays here. Pushing the animated Hulks a little too far forward, though. Could probably have stood to just even out here and start blocking reinforcements onto the point. Especially since these scurvy dogs are going to be the ones capping up this objective. You only need the triple cap for like 20 seconds to get yourself out of that danger zone. And then you can just go right back onto the number 2, where you would have animated Hulks and zombies just holding the point here, making it really difficult for the lizards to push back onto. They do have shooting. They do have quite a few units that can certainly do damage to you, but vampires, all these zombies and the like is just a lot of meat to get through. A lot of really cheap, really crappy infantry stacked on top of AP units can do you a lot of good. Barely holding on to the number 2. Getting really dicey. If these cohorts and the sources get on top of this objective now, they're going to start flipping it. There's not a lot of cap weight here for the Vampire Coast. Zombies have really bad cap weight. I think it's just 2. Oh, they have full cap weight? No way. I am shocked. I didn't know that the deckhand mobs had full cap weight, so gotta eat my words a little bit there. So, never mind. Vampires in a decent spot to hold on to this if they just keep getting, gunnery mobs and the like up there. I'm a little surprised, honestly. Some more Morngulls come out. They're taking down some of these skinks and the like here. And they did get the triple cap. Oh my god. Is Vampire Coast going to be able to pull this off? They had a good lead in the early game. They lost their Carronades and the Det Gunners to a lot of pressure from the Lizardmen. But finally grinding back into this game, barely holding down the middle. It is flipping. Number 1 is starting to flip as well. If they can hold on to the middle, Oh my god, I think they're gonna get this. Vampire Coast is making a huge comeback here. They're evening out on points now. The Morghuls have routed off the Chameleon Skinks and the Skink cohorts here. These Chameleon Skinks are getting some nice overlapping fire. 2,100 on these guys. Oh my goodness. Great value on all these range tools, but maybe not going to be enough. The holding forces for the Lizards proving to end up being the here. Oh my gosh. Huge comeback and a big win here for the force of the Vampire Coast. Love to see it here. Ripperdactyl's making a last desperate dive, getting on top of the gunnery mobs, trying to kill the cap weight and maybe secure some opportunities here, but gotta get on the number 3 too, because now you're the one in triple cap territory. The skink javelins here, Chameleon Skinks get up on the number 3 maybe, and Count Noctil is finally going down here. Tic-Tac-Toe finding an opening, taking a smack to the face though, for all the trouble. But definitely going to kill the caster here. Really well played by Incognito, man. What a scrappy game. Back and forth the whole time. Love to see it, man. Carronades got decent value in the early going, but getting shut down was pretty painful. Det Gunners not paying for themselves. Lamprey's Revenge, not doing too hot either, but let's go check out those Morghuls. 1,600 and 1,600 on each of those. Huge work getting done there. And the Bloody Reaver Det Guard, 1,900 value. 1,000 on the black spot. Animated Hulk's not doing terrible for themselves either. And Scurvy Dogs, you know, getting in there doing a little bit of work too. Just really good, you know, smothering gameplay from the Vampire Coast. That's how you play them, man. You just slow grind your opponent down into the dirt. And, you know, Lizards with some obscene value on a lot of their units. 3,200 on these Salamanders. They came in twice, but they're only 900, so I don't know what more you could ask for from your units there. And good value on the Ripperdactyls, man. But just not enough holding power on the objectives. Doing in the forces of the Lizards there. Let's go. I'm going to go take a look at bracket real quick, actually. Let's go see what's happening. I believe we'll be in round 3 now. Yeah, round 3 is going on. We've got some games finishing up there. And we've got Navigator with 3 wins, no losses. Incognito, Fallen Effian, and Ash right behind with 2 wins apiece. Fallen Effian with 1 loss and 2 wins. While the other 2-win players are in the middle of their matches right now. So we'll get retuned back in a moment there. Alright, guys. I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to go step away for a bit, and then I'm going to jump back in with some more replays. So I'll be right back, guys. Alright, guys. We're back. We have a few more replays. Let's go take a look at them. I'm going to do this Beastmen versus Wood Elves match, and then we'll be getting into the round 3 showdowns that I've got on hand. So we've got Fallen Effian and Ash here. And we're going to get it kicked off. We've got Beastmen versus Wood Elves. This is, someone was asking about Wood Elves being the strongest faction. We're going to see here if Fallen Effian can show the chops that Beastmen can bring against Wood Elves. They're both really quick and have, you know, a lot of advantages, one over the other. We've got a lot of Zangors, Ungor Raiders, and the Centigors in here. We've got the Wilds Shaman, Bray Scream, and Traitorkin are on the table. Very powerful spells. Bray Scream I'm not 100% sold on, but, you know, it can do some decent work. It's a little breath spell that can do some damage. Sisters of Twilight coming in here. They're going to be very good at shooting down this poor Great Bray Shaman, who's, you know, being on the Chariot is going to make him very vulnerable to the shooting from the Sisters here, who just have great range. They've got really good damage on their bows. And they do have the flexibility to swap from the, you know, the single target to the spray fire. So getting rid of this Bray Shaman of Wild would be really nice in the early going. Gotta get this guy out. He's getting absolutely smacked up. Kite away from the Sisters and get them to try and fly over the Ungor Raiders. Because these guys, you know, the Sisters have decent armor, but 50 is not enough to stop the sheer weight of fire coming in from the Ungor Raiders. I would turn these guys and just start getting on top of her. Right now, on top of both of these two. They're going to suffer really heavily from that, and you really cannot afford to lose your Lord in the early game as Wood Elves. Wild Riders circling pretty aggressively here, and Wild Hunters of Kurnus doing a little bit of damage to the Centigor throwing axes, along with the other Wild Rider unit, but did get kited out a little bit and took some pretty bad damage on the way out. There is a big value lead for the Wood Elves right now, but a lot of that is from the Lord getting beat up. And this is not really a combat Lord. Gotta keep him away from these Wild Riders. These Wild Riders will probably finish off this Wild Shaman. So pretty good control here from Ash. Oh, he's not getting the charge off, though. Missing the opportunity to collapse and surround him completely. And what is going to happen here? Rolling through the Ungor herds who are going to stop the Wild Hunters here and probably get some good damage on them. There is a Traitorkin going down, also doing some work there. The Sister Twilight, very unopposed, chasing after this very squishy Lord. And if the Beastmen lose leadership, it's going to start getting a lot scarier for them than it is for the Wood Elves. The Spellsinger of Shadows coming in here. Oh, dropping Melkoths. Dropped a Melkoths on the Ungor Raiders and then dove on top of them, it looks like. Doing good work and routing them off. Gotta get these guys sorted out. They're a little too overlapped here. If the spray fire from the Sisters of Twilight started coming in on top of these guys, it would do a lot of damage to them, but they seem pretty content to go after this Bray Shaman who, you know, if you're gonna commit to bringing a Lord like this against a shooting faction, you really got to be on top of making sure that the Arrows of Kurnus and other ranged tools cannot shoot him down, because not really getting any value out of the magic so far is very painful. War Dancers coming in. They're doing some pretty good work against the Ungor herds, but they've gotten beat up in return. Down goes the Bray Shaman, and the Wild Hunters of Kurnus and the Wild Riders just jump on top of the Centigors, and Fallen Effian not quick enough to recognize the threat there and get away. These guys are going to just rout the Centigors with throwing axes off the map here, which is a big loss of value for the Beastmen. And you can see the power that the Wood Elves have. Being super mobile across the battlefield. We do have some Centigors with great weapons taking out the Wild Riders here. I don't know if bringing great weapon Centigors is the best call. There's not a lot of armor on the Wood Elf roster. It is really nice. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a really good unit, but I think regular Centigor variants would be better served here. Need to get these guys back to the middle. Losing the back objective there, and there's so many Wood Elf skirmishing units here. The Destroyers of the Drakewald, if they get an opportunity, you could, invisible, this rock doesn't exist. This rock is not here. It's a conspiracy. Rocks are not real. They're getting chased back by the Destroyers of the Drakewald here. We've got some Glade Riders looking to make sure that the Centaurs with throwing axes get taken out here. Charging in here, Fallen Nephian is going to get a nice charge. You know, these Centaurs are going to die probably. But taking out a Glade Rider, you know, maybe not the worst exchange in the world. Although they are crushing these Glade Riders in the process, man. Maybe they'll be able to hold on with a couple of models, but it doesn't look like it. They are overwhelmed in the end. The Destroyers of the Drakewald might be able to help escort those Glade Riders off the field, and the spray fire from the Sisters of Twilight with 1,700 value already, taking down the Centaurs here. Nice work, really nice work from Ash, dealing with all of these Beastman units. Lots of Melkoths coming in from the Spellsinger. About 700 value on the Spellsinger here. Just dropping the Melkoths. Use the Power Stone to get a little extra wins is really nice. And the Waystalker's out here, also poking in, doing a little bit of damage. Got the Arrows of Kurnus, which is all out of uses right now. Just, I saw a couple uses on the Caster, and probably dropping the rest of them in on Ungor Raiders and Centaurs and the like. These Centaurs getting overmatched by the number of Glade Riders on the field, and a huge collapse from the Zangors here. Not able to get through the War Dancers, and the Beastman's hold on the middle objective is going to be collapsing here. Very painful stuff. I don't know how you get back in this game as the Beastman at this point. You got to be careful with your Lords against Wood Elves. That's the #1 way that you lose your games against them.
Take it back.
Lords. Oh, whoops. Can't write, but there you go. Got to keep them alive, and, you know, Sister Twilight are one of the best Lord sniping units in the game. You know, those scary shots with the bonus versus large that the Sisters have are pretty punishing. I am going to be honest, I think that Morgur would be your best bet here. What you do is you bring Morgur, he's pretty cheap, he's like 1,200 gold paired down with just the summons that he has. He has spell resistance of 75%, he's got crazy missile resist too. It's 25 or 35%, which stacks pretty nicely. It can certainly do you pretty good at resisting the Sisters here. And he's also got regen, so much stickier and harder to snipe out for the Sisters. And then you just wait for a bit, force them to shoot other stuff, and then you can bring your caster out of the summon point. And you can either bring the Shadows or the Wilds caster. You do have lots of options for your Shamans as Beastmen, and I think that would be your best bet. It would mitigate a lot of the potential for the Sisters of Twilight to really wreck you. And it's going to give you access to magic later in the game, which can be really nice and impactful. You know, you can drag down all of the Wood Elf units just with your cheaper mobility. You know, you've got Centaurs and Ungor Raiders to, you know, control space. Ungor Raiders just kind of sit in the middle and shoot all of the very low armor. Glade Guard, Dryads, War Dancers. Saw a lot of War Dancers in the early game there. And that's going to get you a lot of good value. And then the Centaurs, they can just take fights against the Wild Hunters of Kurnus even. You know, like one basic Centaur actually does some pretty good damage on the charge against these guys. But if you get overwhelmed by Wood Elf mobility, you're going to be down really bad. Getting some good damage on the Sister of Twilight with throwing axes there. So you can see how much value you can grind against these guys with good targeting from your missile units. Probably needed to just make more use of the Centaurs with throwing axes. Riding underneath the Sisters of Twilight is a good call because, you know, they've got 110 speed, but these guys have 92. If you just follow the Sisters of Twilight around in the early game with your throwing axes, They fire on the move. They've got 360 shooting. They're not going to get outmaneuvered in terms of your opponent like dodging back and forth. Your opponent basically just has to run back to the safety of their lines to avoid the fire from these guys. As you can see here, you know, Ash is doing a great job of just falling back with the Lords and dragging the Centaurs into the arc of fire of the Glade Guard and the like. But if this was earlier in the game, you know, you've got your Lord kind of hidden back here, staying safe. The Sisters of Twilight try to get back here. They can get about, I think the range, the 190 range they have, they can get up here and shoot your Lord. But if you've got like a core of Centaurs that can just run up and start throwing when she's back here, she has to fall back. You give yourself a little bit of cushion with your front line having some time to just move up slowly and fire down on Dryads and Eternal Guard and whatever you can get your hands on. Hold this back objective with, you know, just spear units. And try and keep the Wild Hunters of Kurnus from just getting on there for free and taking it over. I think that would be the best move. Yeah, the Arrows of Kurnus and the Sisters' ability technically being different is a little bit sketchy. Like, just in terms of, it does the exact same thing. Eagle Quiver and Arrow of Kurnus are basically the same ability. And there is currently a limit on the number of like Arrows of Kurnus you can bring in game, so I'm not 100% sure about that. But regardless, it's you know, it's in the game. It's unfortunately something you have to account for. So next time, if you're gonna bring the Brace Shaman on the Chariot, just keep them back here against Wood Elves. You know, Wood Elves have Way Watchers. They've got Deepwood Scouts. There's a lot of ways for that guy to get punished. You'd have been in a good position if you hadn't lost your caster so early. Because the leadership problems hurt Beastmen so badly, man. I mean, the leadership loss of 10 for Ungors and even Centaurs can start getting really punishing. Because these guys do have Rowdy. It's an ability that gives them perfect vigor as long as their leadership is higher than Wavering. It's very important for them. It's why Centaurs perform so well. I mean, even after getting their ass kicked that first time around, these guys have still gotten 2,000 value. And you can see grinding back a little bit in terms of value against the Wood Elves here, but I don't know how you crack the nut of this middle objective. There's so many Wood Elf units here. There's, what, 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 units on the point with support from Wild Riders. And Sisters of Twilight are not dead. They don't have the heal, though. It's odd. So, yeah, another thing to check is see if your opponent brings the heals on units that might otherwise have them, because there is a Sisters of Twilight ability that gives them, like, a 25% heal. Conjoined Destiny, I think is what it's called. It's not on them, so the Centaur Pressure and Ungor Raider Fire would have actually been putting a lot more effect onto the Sisters of Twilight than it might otherwise normally be. Regardless, I do think that most players are going to play a little more honest if your Lord is taking damage. So, losing out to the mobility here, and I do believe this game is over, so fast forward through to the end of it, and we'll get into another match. You did a really good job of scrapping back there, Fallen Effian. Don't be hard on yourself for it. It's just one of those circumstances where you kind of got caught out, didn't really seem like you knew exactly what to do to get away from the Sisters there, and how to protect your Lord, and that kind of cost you, so be very careful with your Lord choices against Wood Elves. You have to bring something that's either quick and able to escape from them, from the missile fire, or just bring something that's good at resisting it. Let's go. I'll go show you Morgur real quick. So yeah, we'll jump out here. Morgur is here. Let's pare him down. Stabs and Spirit Essence. So 1600 with the summons. Oh, 75% missile resist. I got that backwards. I thought it was the spell resistance that was 75%, but I mean, this guy's impossible to kill, basically. Just bring Morgar next time against Wood Elves. He can lock down a middle objective. He's impossible to kill at ranged. Your opponent has to commit into melee where he shines. I mean, it has pretty good combat stats. Immune to psychology, so he's not going to get terrified by anything. And then, you know, just drops Stav of Ruinous Corruption, and Spirit Essence of Chaos triggers automatically, and you get 2 free Chaos Spawn for like 90 seconds each. And those Chaos Spawn can do some pretty good damage against the low armor of the Wood Elves. And then, you know, just bring the Brace Shaman. You can bring, let's see, what's going to be best against the Wood Elves? Beast would be pretty good with Flock of Doom. It's a very useful spell. Melkoth's is great against cavalry and infantry alike. And then the Wilds Caster is really good with Traderkin for killing lords. So your lord and magic options can come in clutch here. And, you know, you can bring just the essentials. Just bring Melkoth's. Cut all this other stuff. You can even cut Smoke and Mirrors. It's kind of useless. And then you've got 750 gold with one of the strongest spells in the game on point and on deck for killing pretty much anything. I mean, cast it on the Wild Riders, slow them down, catch them with Cynagors. And you can do a lot with that, just with Melkoth's, man, I'm telling you. That would be really nice against the Wood Elves. Yeah, it's painful when you notice that. I hear you, Nephian. Alright, guys. Enough rambling about that match, and we'll jump in and see about... Oh, let's see some revenge. Let's see if you can pull it off against Empire. Empire versus Beastmen is, you know, it can be another toss-up matchup. I think that, Wood Elves Beastmen is probably 40-60 in favor of the Wood Elves, just because Wood Elves are, you know, so strong and do so many of the same things that Beastmen do, but a little bit better. Empire is probably closer to like 55-45 in favor of Beastmen. Empire does have lots of cheap infantry that can go toe-to-toe against Ungors, Pestigors, and Zangors, as well as having great range tools. But, you know, you've got good spell options as Beastmen, and you can certainly put a beating down with your mobility on a lot of the range tools that Empire has. Empire is very reliant on combined arms tactics, and don't really have anything that completely outshines, you know, your opponent's options. Grundle's defenders out here, but where are they going? They're going up to the front line. These guys do have physical resistance that they give in an aura, so right off the bat, I would say instead of leaving a Halberdier back here, you leave Grundle's defenders. And instead of having the Halberdiers here, where they're currently lined up, you bring them and you kind of overlap them on the crew itself. That's going to keep them a little bit safer. It's a little more consistent. That would be the only thing I would change in the deployment there. These are all things that are important to consider. They can seem really small and minor, but over the course of a game, little decisions can really rack up and either put you ahead by a lot, or it can put you down. Got a Traderkin being cast on Boris, putting a little pressure on him and forcing his heals out. You know, not the most cost-efficient thing in the world, but, you know, not a bad idea. You know, pressuring Lords is never a bad call. Mortars wrecking the Ungol Raiders and getting terrified by Boris Todbringer as well. They are going to be routing here, but the Centaurs are getting ready for a vicious volley onto Boris here. He's going to be taking some really nasty damage, getting nailed by those throwing axes, man, and that's really good work here. Like I was saying last game, Nephian, this is kind of what you would have been best doing against the Sisters as well. Good call not overextending. There are Huntsmen here. They will be very punishing for Cynagors to get fired upon by. Because they do have the bonus versus large of 8 on those missiles. They will wreck those guys if given the opportunity. Some Harpies coming in. They're going right into the back to jump on the mortars. I honestly kind of like that. You know, the mortars are going to be very good at clearing out the Beastmen chaff. Killing the Ungol Raiders in droves right now. Really taking them down. Wrecking their health. And making it difficult to establish a much stronger position on the number 3 than the Beastmen otherwise would have. You know, these Ungol Raiders, they're only 425 gold. They're not great, but the weight of fire that they have is very impressive. And it can certainly get through the bronze shields that Empire Spearmen have. And having all these Halberdiers on the field, these Halberdiers get punished even harder because they don't have any shield to mitigate missile fire. Okay, I hear you. Thank you, JP. I appreciate that. We'll go back to the replays in a minute, guys. We got semis about to pop off here. Thank you, man. Okay, guys. Let's go find our semifinalists. Let's go see who's in the top 4. We got Bongo, Zami, Navigator, and Incognito. Okay. All right. Well, we'll get the replays for semis in a minute here. We'll jump back in and just go ahead with the Empire and Beastmen. I just saw your message. My bad for missing that. But we'll still get the replays for semis and grands. And just keep casting the replays so that we can go ahead and get some more knowledge out there for everybody. We'll fast forward through to where we were just a minute ago. Alright. So yeah, positioning for the Beastmen, just moving up onto objectives. You know, Beastmen are so much farther forward because they have, you know, their entire army vanguarded, basically. Another really strong thing that Beastmen have available to them is all of the vanguard options. We've got some Pestigors running up into the backfield over here. I didn't even notice this earlier, but sometimes going on wild flanks like this can pay off in the late game. Because you can just creep, you know, a unit like Pestigors up into the trees. You can block anything coming out of this deployment zone here. And the Pestigors, being small targets, don't lose any stats fighting in forests. Which is pretty nice. And then if your opponent doesn't have anything coming out of here, you can just kind of collapse here onto your opponent's stuff. So, Halberdiers, you can see getting fired on from those Ungol Raiders. This is where some of that value was coming in for those guys. You can see how much damage they got in the early going against the Halberds. Gotta be really careful with unshielded units. Going up against even cheap missiles. And the Centigors here, they're in a big blob. You gotta be careful of this because there are mortars. So, spreading them out a little bit more and keeping them in tidier lines is going to prevent, you know, just like one big mortar volley would come in here, absolutely wreck these guys. They're so compacted here. This is a really juicy target to be aiming at. And you can see the orders going in here. Luckily missing on that first volley, while the other mortar back here is temporarily shut down by the Harpies, but a really good summon of Knights of the Blazing Sun to clear these guys out. Pestigors doing what I was expecting of them. They're getting in here, they're locking down some of the swordsmen, and they're coming out to go after Reiksguard, which is a really nice use of Pestigors. These guys are pretty quick with 42 speed. They've got poison. They poison up Empire Knights and can kind of stay near them. And if they break the leadership on these guys, Tears of Nurgle is going to send them running, or going to prevent them from running away, I should say, because it's, you know, minus 75% speed, vigor reduction as well. So just locking these guys in place potentially is really good. But pretty good call from Son of Heaven to collapse in on the back of these guys and just commit to taking them out. You can maybe pull out the Reichsguard now and go back in, but it'd be risky because you'd be giving space for the Pestigors to get on top of the mortar there, which could do some good work. We got a Cygor summon, another good use of it. Getting in there and hammering the Huntsman at range. You know, a unit that would otherwise be pretty uncontested because the Ungor Raiders back here just aren't getting any room to do work because Boris Todbringer is jumping in, getting terror routes on them, and just being frustrating and annoying while the mortars are helping too. But we've got the Cynagors with great weapons on top of them. This is a really good use of Cynagors with great weapons here, guys. Getting on top of single entities with them, they get good surround like this, and they can just start hammering in there. They've got decent weapon strength, 27 and 7. 27 being their armor-piercing value is very powerful. You can see how well Pestigors do. I mean, they're completely surrounded, and they've still gotten their value and traded really well into these Reichsguard, who are just an incredibly expensive unit. And back here, looks like a Centaur came in and swept up the remainder of the mortar crew, while we've got the Knights of the Blazing Sun doing a little bit of heavy lifting here. Charging down some Gore Herd, getting a good rear charge onto those guys, helping out those Halberdiers, but probably, well, I guess jumping on top of these Ungor Spears and then coming back to finish off the Gore Herds would be the best call. But more Centaurs with the great weapons out here, and a Flock of Doom coming in from the Amber Wizard, which is nice. Can do some pretty good damage. And, oh man, those Knights of the Blazing Sun. The Centaurs did get their charge off really nicely and absolutely hammered these guys down, obliterating them in just a few seconds, man. It's the power of Centaurs right now. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people are saying that they need a few nerfs. They're pretty crazy. They're really, really powerful right now. Ungor Raiders, they're firing against the Huntsmen, which is very cost-effective for them. They do get broken. They're going to be pushed back. Scooting up with the other two units would be a good call, but I think they're invisible right now because of the stalk that they have. Although, it looks... I think at this range, they should be visible. So, you know, try and pull back a little bit and take advantage of the superior range that Huntsmen have. They outrange Ungor Raiders pretty significantly. So this is kind of feeding value a little bit to a very cost-efficient unit against these targets. You can see one unit of Huntsmen is routed and dealt with. This other one is going to start getting hammered and charged down by the great weapons and the destroyers here. It's not great for them. They're going to take some nasty work there. Really get pounded. Boris Todbringer is healing capped. He's been putting in work, but only 600 value. Not really having amazing targets to fight, and the Beastman Swarms are really taking advantage of the chaotic battlefield. The Empire forces don't really have a proper like battle line, so the Empire are kind of committing units in piecemeal right now, where they then just kind of get collapsed on the flank. You know, you've got these Halberdiers here who kind of pushed in. This tattered unit of Zangors came from here, got onto their flank, and then this unit of Zangors can just collapse in on the back of them and just finish them off. Knights of the Blazing Sun charging up in here, getting a nice attack off, but if you're going to do that, you got to pull out immediately and find somewhere else to go, because if you get swamped by Ungors and stuff, you're going to start suffering pretty badly there. Great swords, getting really overextended here. And yet again, swarming tactics from the Beastmen. The great weapons, not so good last game, but in the perfect situation now against, you know, a great weapon infantry target. Chewing through them real fast like. Destroyers of the Drakewald providing a little bit of poison support as well, which is, you know, pretty decent. Doing a little bit of extra work there. And I do believe I just heard that Boris Todbringer went down. Where'd he die back here? That's the Cygor. Where is he? Well, somewhere out here, somewhere dead. Unfortunate for the wizened old one there. And the Harpy Storm's taken down the other mortar there. So very dominant performance by Fallen Effian. Alright, I'm going to go take a look. We're going to definitely live stream the finals, so we're going to call it for replays for a moment, because I really don't want to miss that. I'd love to be able to bring it to y'all in person and in full effect. Alright, so we're going to jump out here and just go take a look at the bracket as it stands. We've got Bongo and Zammy having played their games. Zammy is Huntress Himbo, by the way. We've cast a few of their replays. And already winning that game and going to be getting into the grand finals there, while Navigator and Incognito, I believe both of them on Vampire Coast, if I'm not mistaken, fighting it out for the other opportunity. Oh, wrong chat. Let's go take a look. And we've got the first of the semis replays here. I'm going to download this. Maybe I'll bring it to you real quick. I don't want to open you Microsoft Edge. Boom, boom. We'll wait to do the semis at the end. We're just waiting on the grand finals to pop up here, and we'll live cast that, do the semis replays, and then we'll see what happens from there. I'm sorry to not be able to get it to you a little more timely. Mild spoilers for the end, which is unfortunate. Yeah, fighting on the forest side. Yeah, I hear you, Nephian. That's not the best decision in the world when you are so reliant on cavalry and your units don't really have Strider. How many units have Strider for the Beastmen, by the way? I'm actually curious. Let's jump in here and take a look. We've got Woodsman, which means you can pass through trees. Does not mitigate the yeah, not a lot of units actually have Strider. We've got this big boy that has it. Who else? Who else? The Warhounds and stuff do. So, you know, Strider mitigates the debuffs that you get for, like, charging uphill, fighting in forests as a large target mitigates that. Aquatics is a completely different thing, so I don't think Strider affects that. I don't actually know. Aquatics, I know, gives a bonus when you're fighting in water. Maybe Strider just affects getting rid of the debuff for the small target standing in water. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm going to actually have to check that out. Unless somebody in chat knows, in which case I would love to hear from you about it. Alright, guys. Sitting and chilling for finals here for a minute. I don't know if there's anybody y'all would like me to give just a quick little rundown on as a faction. Because the one thing we've seen a lot of today, we've seen quite a few Beastmen games. There's been a few Empire games. Empire kind of got beat up on today. I do have to hand it to our Empire player, Son of Heaven, not just bringing not just bringing the steam tanks. Although I'm not sure if they're actually banned for the tournament today. Now that I'm thinking about it, no, you can still bring the steam tanks. So, Son of Heaven trying to make Empire happen without the steam tank cheese is pretty intriguing. Huge kudos on that front. There are plenty of Empire options for you to be able to play with outside of just bringing the Master Engineer and a heal. So you've seen a little bit of that. Getting a little unlucky with the factions that he's been facing. Beastmen are pretty difficult for Empire. And who else did we face earlier? So let's see. I don't remember who Son of Heaven fought in the first round. It literally just happened, and I've already completely forgotten it. Oh, against the Lizardmen, that's right. Lizardmen's also a really difficult matchup for Empire. Any matchup where Empire State Troopers can't kind of stay back and be the anvil, so to speak, ends up being pretty dangerous for Empire because they are very reliant on missile pieces to do the heavy lifting, and Beastmen and Lizardmen have answers to that aplenty, which can be very punishing for Empire. Oh, Navigator was on Zinch, that's right. So we have a Zinch versus Coast for the other semi-final game. We're going to go in and we're going to get on top of live casting this final match here. Okay, 1 second, guys. Lizards versus Dowie is going to be fun to cast. Just talking it up with the players right now, answering some questions from some other people. Okay, cool. Navigator and Zami are going to be our grand finals contestants. Alright, guys. Still waiting to hear for a spec slot, but it'll be opening up shortly here. I appreciate everybody who's tuned in so far today. It has been a little chaotic. I haven't been doing much streaming the last few days, so getting a little bit back into the swing of it. But it's been pretty good games, and it's been pretty fun, so I appreciate y'all coming to hang out and just chat and talk shop, I guess, you know. It's a pretty amazing game, and I am really loving all the efforts that the community is putting in to it, you know, making a more inviting space for everybody. And, you know, y'all should go check out the RTK Discord, as well as Turin's Discord, because everybody, there's all kinds of events happening with RTK. You know, there's lots of people in the Turin chats looking for matches all the time. So just get out there and start chatting with people. I really highly encourage it, because you'll meet some really awesome people. You know, it's a much better experience than just going on ladder. And that can sometimes be a little bit suffering, because there isn't as much of a sporting atmosphere with that as there is with finding people that you can enjoy, you know, friendlies with and improve. It's kind of like a whole different world, honestly. There we go. Let me get away from this so that nobody is peeking. And we're just going to chill. It's going to be on Chateau de Roquefort, which is a pretty fun map. I'm sorry for the butchered French pronunciations. But this is a fun map. It's got a little bit of a hill in the middle and on the edges. And it's just a really nice atmospheric spot with nice wide open spaces and a little bit of a room on the sides, as you can see, for some forest fights. And people to really get out there and make something happen. No home objectives on this one, so we're probably going to see engagements across the entire battlefield, too. I'm swapping y'all away for a minute so I can take a look at the armies. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, it looks like we've got a fun one incoming. We've got some pretty nutty stuff in here. Alright. They're ready. They're going. We're jumping back in here. I think. Hello? What's going on here? Okay, never mind. I thought that we were jumping right into the game, but apparently not. Oh, that's because I'm looking at the wrong thing. LOL. Alright, they're still picking armies and compositions, so we're just chilling here. We'll be doing semis after this, is what I was trying to say. I was typing it in chat. I don't know why. I can just tell y'all here, but just for anybody who does have the stream on mute, I just wanted to let them know that semis will be done after grands here. And y'all should stick around for them. I didn't get to do them live, which I regret. I really wished I had been a little bit more attentive in managing my time a little better. So they are a little bit spoiled just based on who's in finals, but I think there's still going to be pretty good games to watch. And it'll be something to learn from, definitely. Alright, now we're kicking it off. They're moving up into the loading screens, and we've got a good one for you. So, Tzeentch forces here versus the forces of the Lizardmen. We've got an Exalted Lord of Change with the metal lore of magic, with Chromatic Abominations, regular pink horror, the Severed Claw, absolutely amazing unit, especially for this matchup. They're so hard to kill. One of the stickiest units in the game. We've got some Chaos Warriors as well. Lizards were a pretty wide army, but have a Feral Troglodon in here. And I have seen Huntress play with the Troglodon before, and it was pretty masterful use on this thing. It's a pretty tricky unit that I was pretty surprised to see just how good it is. Got Tic-Tac-Toe in the sky, Skink Priest of Heavens, Skink cohorts, Javelin cohorts, Sauruses with shields, 1 spear, and we've got 2 Chameleon Skinks out here, man. Ready to party with their little blow darts, and it's going to be a good one for them. They can do some good work against Tzeentch, certainly. They can shoot at Screamers and the Exalted Lord of Change pretty effectively. They do need to worry a little bit about Pink Fire Horror, but they do have the 40% missile resist, which helps them out a lot. Definitely going to keep them a lot healthier than they otherwise would be, and they can poke at the pinks and the blues under the right circumstances, for sure. Man, the Chromatic Abominations, dude. Very cool unit, but one that I feel like struggles a lot. I don't know if I've really seen them pay for themselves too terribly often. They just have really short range, and the barrier boost is, like, great and all, but I don't know. They seem to have something about them that just makes them not trade too terribly effectively. Forces getting lined up here, and we're going to be kicking it off. We've got the Chameleon Skinks out here. They're going to be going up to the number 3 objective. We've got forces going to be pushing up into the middle for sure, and trying to make something work here. Just going right up the pipe, getting on the number 2, I would imagine, and trying to overwhelm the forces of Tzeentch would be my guess for what they're going to be preparing to do. They have a much wider army, and Tzeentch is going to be very reliant on the punching power of the Severed Claw and the magic from their Exalted Lord of Change here to do a lot of heavy lifting, just because it's only 8 units here. You can give up a lot of battlefield control when you are going this narrow. And skinks just have great cap weight, man. They can really overwhelm you pretty quickly in that regard. What is going on? No, not the stream. Hold on, guys. I think it's about to even out. I don't know why it's doing this. It seems to be really insistent on live-casted games not going smoothly. So, Exalted Lord of Change flying up over the middle here. And taking some nasty fire from the skink, the chameleon skinks here. Getting through the shields pretty efficiently. Doing a lot of poke here. But no HP damage yet. Navi just needs to keep this guy moving and get him away before he starts taking even more vicious punishment here. So pulling this guy out, making his way around. And Tic-Tac-Toe is looking for an opportunity to engage. Not really finding anything in the early going here, but certainly going to be making his presence felt. Just keeping him honest, you know. That's very important against flying units, is not giving them an opportunity to just land and get free damage. You know, it wouldn't be great to land on the Chameleon Skinks, but can be done. He's a decent combat lord, you know, with the 50-50 and good weapon strength. So having another flying lord here to threaten and keep him from doing so and just terrifying the Chameleon Skinks is really nice. Troglodon's looking for some shots, but not really finding anything that, you know, Zami is liking. Falling back with this guy a little bit. Looking for an opportunity to engage elsewhere on the field, probably. Centaurs do move up and take the number 1. We've got the Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch out here on the flank. They're taking a little bit of poke on their shields, but nothing too serious. And the Severed Claw is getting focused down by the Chameleon Skinks here, and taking a little bit of damage on their shields too. Overshields proving to be very powerful, as per usual. But it's not as bad as they are in land battles and conquest mode, where Tzeentch can really take advantage of the overshields that they have access to. Ripperdactyls taking a few shots, but dodging them up pretty decently, and Screamers are just all over the field now. So lots of dedicated answers for these Ripperdactyls that Zami has been very reliant on. Dropping Micro here, need to get away with the Ripperdactyls. They're going to take nasty work from the Screamers here, especially with the Chromatic Abominations underfoot shooting at them. We're persevering through the lag a little bit, so I'm thinking that maybe just getting replays for the next time and casting it that way, and I can just keep y'all a little bit in the dark about what's going on in the games would be a better go of it. I don't know why it's being so obstinate today and not running too great. Source Warriors got nailed by that Searing Doom. Really nice cast of it there, and a fat final transmutation. Absolutely roasting Tic-Tac-Toe here. The Ripperdactyls very heavily countered by the Screamers that are just pouring out onto the field. There's 3 units of those. And the Shrieking Skyrays being one of them, just now dropping their, what is it? I can't remember what it's called. Every single time these guys. Where are they? Here they are. The Lamprey's Bite, hitting those skink cohorts with javelins, doing some really good work against them. And the Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch are taking a lot of damage, but losing Tic-Tac-Toe here is going to hurt a lot. And what you can do, if your opponent's army is not that wide, the best thing to do, if you're getting lots of guys bunched up like this, is just pull a couple of them out and then just circle through the holes, because there's massive gaps in the line here, and obviously right here. That would be your best go of it, while you've got units that can kind of flank out on the edge. We've got Centaurs out here getting routed. It looks like the Feral Troglodon and some skink cohorts are the, you know, the co-managers of that situation, doing a good job of getting rid of this very expensive unit. And it is very close. Losing Tic-Tac-Toe back here is going to be really painful. We'll see if he can rally, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get enough distance between himself and the Exalted Lord of Change here, who's just hot on his tail, taking him out, man. 1100 value on the Lord of Change. Tic-Tac-Toe not doing nearly as well. Only 200 value there. A lot of that coming down to just the absolutely incredible Final Transmutation that got dropped in there. Troglodon is kiting back a little bit. The Cynagors have rallied and are looking to get on top of this Troglodon, while the Screamer hordes are chasing down these poor Ripperdactyls, who aren't finding any great places to land, unfortunately. They do get on top of this Screamer as it's rotating, getting a little bit of damage in there, maybe just pulling out, and I don't know where you go. Maybe fly back here and get on top of the Chromatic Abominations and get out some Cold Wind Riders. Okay, Cold Wind Riders coming out. So maybe you can come back here, land, and then countercharge the Screamers with the Cold Wind Riders, because that would be pretty effective. Screamers are lightly armored. They take a lot of shock damage, which is really punishing for them. That can certainly hurt a lot. I'm going to close this. And the Ripperdactyls, man, holding up in the sky, taking a lot of fire here.
Take it back.
Or not taking a lot of fire here, but taking a lot of damage from the Screamers, who are on top of their business. Completely conked out on me there. So I'm really sorry for that. That sucks. Not 100% sure why that happened, but it is what it is. I'm going to jump in and see if I can get the replay, and we'll cast up the finals there. I hope I didn't crash everybody. That might be the case, though. It's very unfortunate. All right, guys. We're gonna get the finals replay. It was very painful. I hate when stuff just falls apart on me. I'm not 100% sure what's been up at the stream today. Internet just not cooperating. It's been very challenging, but we're gonna get the replay back, and we're gonna jump in, and we'll just cast the replay of finals there, and then do the semis, and then I'm gonna end it there. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna see if this is, like, you know, more long-term issue. Not 100% sure why it's been so chaotic today. I haven't had a problem before, but maybe it's just one of those days. Boom, we are going to download this here, and we're going to get right back into this, so not too much downtime, thankfully. For all of you who are here, thank you for bearing with me, as today's stream has been quite wild and chaotic. Certainly not how I would like it to be going overall. Get this here, and here. Okay, guys. We're going to launch the game. I'll keep you off this damned screen where there's absolutely nothing going on. We're going to jump in here. And we'll do semis and finals. So, whoever else is left, thank you. Hero. Alright. Get through these screens, and we're going to jump right in here. I'm going to just go ahead and do the semis, and then then we'll do the finals. So, we'll just do it all in order, since they're all over at this point. But I don't know who won the finals here, so that's going to be exciting to cast the replay at the end there. It was looking really nice for Zinch from the point that I got up to. But seeing where it ends up at the end of the day is also going to be worthwhile. Because, I mean, it was very much within Lizardman's power there at the end to flip it back. So, first replay that we've got for semis is going to be Dowie versus the Lizardman here. We've got Huntress Himbo and Corvus Glaive. Bongo, I've played a lot. Bongo's been around for quite a while. Very fun. I think we're back. I'm sorry, this stream is so chaotic, guys. Internet and computer not wanting to cooperate here with me. But I'm pushing through it. We've got Lizardman forces continuing to rally up onto the objectives. We've got the Dowie moving forward as well, getting in position with their cannons. There's a Master Engineer here with the smoke bomb, or flash bomb, I guess, just to stop up any of the diving elements that the Lizardmen can bring out. Lizardmen have opted for a pretty wide build so far. One Feral Troglodon hiding in the woods here with the Ripperdactyls also chilling out in the forest, getting ready to jump in there and do some damage when given the opportunity. A little bit hazardous with all of the organ guns, cannons, and there's a flame cannon here too, which is a really interesting tool. It's going to be pretty good against the dwarf forces, or against the Lizardman forces. Clearing out these red-crested skinks that can do really good work against the Dowie warriors there. But opting to kill off the Sauruses here, roasting the entire left-hand side of this unit, man. Punishing them hard right now. And that Discourage effect, I forgot about that. Burnt is going to break the leadership on the Saurus shield before they can really even get into combat. One brave Saurus warrior gets a little bite in there. And using the clubs a little bit. I can't believe the leadership is holding up on these guys, man. It's a testament to how strong the Saurus warriors are. But another Saurus warrior does get into combat. Not fully uncontested. They do get caught up by some Dowie warriors, but they're going to grind through these guys pretty effectively. That is a really nice trade for them. They've got some red-crested skinks fighting some Dowie warriors over here as well. Flame Cannon turning its attention to another Saurus with shield, and these guys trying to get around these miners but can't quite manage it, while the Ripperdactyls have a good opening here. They've got all three artillery pieces in their sights. All that's back here to defend is one Great Weapon Warrior and a Master Engineer, which is a little dicey for the dwarves. They do have some Thunderers and Iron Drakes, though, coming out of the deployment zone right now. along with an Iron Breaker. Huge reinforcement wave coming in from Corvus Glaive. Can actually be a really good idea to bank up resources oftentimes. But Tic-Tac-Toe and the Ripperdactyls are chewing the Organ Gun crew up, man. Absolutely roasting these guys. Making really short work of this crew. Dowie crews, Dowie are pretty heavily armored, but the crews for their cannons are actually lightly armored, so that's something to keep in mind. You might be expecting otherwise, but it's really worthwhile to jump back there, even with stuff that doesn't necessarily do AP damage, because they can get good work done pretty quickly. Flame Cannon, focusing in on the Ripperdactyl, and a really nice pop on a Flash Bomb here. Targeting it onto the Ripperdactyls here, who got nailed by the Flame Cannon. Flame Cannon coming in clutch here, but the cannons also overlapping a little bit of fire onto those Ripperdactyls and do break them. Tic-Tac-Toe is trying to get through onto the Flame Cannon and does land, doing some good work there, while the Red-Crested Skinks in the front line fight swinging pretty nicely for the Lizardmen here. Saurus shield proving to be a little overwhelming for the Dowie. As you can see, the Dowie Warriors and the Saurus Warriors trade pretty, not super evenly per se, because the Saurus Warriors are going to win, but the amount of time that the Dowie can hold is incredibly crucial for all of the artillery pieces and units like Thunders and Iron Drakes to move up and start getting overlapping fire and really support the forces of the Dowie. But Ripperdactyls getting rear charges onto those warriors, gonna collapse them, and the Saurus Warriors are certainly gonna be moving up into the backfield. They've got a pretty open route here. There's really not a lot to defend here. There's some Slayers coming out of the summon points here, but they're not going to trade very favorably into the Sauruses, so maybe getting the Iron Drakes here. Well, the Iron Drakes do need to keep firing onto the Ripperdactyls, who are very vulnerable right now. So shooting the Ripperdactyls down, very important, but these Thunderers could probably be best served shooting the Saurus Warriors here. But it does look like they are getting on top of the Master Engineer, who's not going to mind that fight too terribly much, but this is going to really suck. Slayers don't have any armor, and the huge weapon strength on these Sauruses is going to get on top of the Slayers and start doing nasty damage to them, man. I mean, they don't have the best melee defense, and they are outstripped by the Saurus Warriors. 34 melee attack with Primal Instincts coming into play here. They're going to take a lot of damage, and Dowie, they're trading upwards still, though. Very close game, but they're so pushed back into their spawn right now, and this Troglodon is getting into the battle and doing some really good damage, just firing in with the shots that it's got. Its missile attack is very powerful. Doing some pretty good work, getting nice value, hitting Belagar, I believe, with a lot of them. Razordons are a fun call-in. They're getting some good shots in on those Slayers there. These Slayers over here are just managing to win this battle, but these Sauruses were already down to about half health. And you can see how far they've taken down the Slayer unit, so it's why you really want to be careful with these Slayers. They're very good at killing Ripperdactyls and would have been really well served sticking on top of the cannons and the organ gun and the like, but all that's left for the Dowie in terms of artillery is one cannon, and it's scooting up quite a bit. I'm not sure where it's going. It's probably obstructed. You got to be very cautious with your artillery in this game. This is a feels bad moment for sure. Getting it back up onto the hill here where it can get better sight lines would be ideal. And making sure that it's targeting big stuff like the Troglodon is what you really need to be aware of and careful of. We've got some Thunderers and Iron Drakes. They're kind of firing into the massive infantry and units here. Cannon firing directly into the ground, unfortunately. The Flame Cannon is still alive. That's actually what was moving up. So we've got the Cannon and the Flame Cannon, but both are on the low ground here. And Cannon Crew is going to get smacked up by the Skink Priest of Heavens while their own flamethrowers are roasting him out a little bit. Doing some pretty bad damage to the crew there. What is up with the banners here, man? We've got, like, the cannon banner back here, and the unit is, like, all the way up here. But they are broken now, and the crew, I believe, is routing. I don't know what's going on with this. Tooltips all over the place. Chaos in the Warhammer universe, though, is very appropriate, I guess. Today has just been all over the place anyways, so we'll embrace it for what it is. Ironbreakers proving to be incredibly effective here. They have been just stalwart units, as per usual. Getting all their blasting charges off, killing skinks and red-crested skinks alike. And they're proving to be the one area of the battle in which the Dowie are doing very well. But not capping up this #1 objective is going to be pretty bad for the dwarves. They really need a point. They're very heavily down in terms of tickets. And, I mean, you know, the triple cap really ticks up quite quickly on you. So you need to be very aware of that. And capturing objectives when and where possible is very important. Really good job by the Lizards. You know, losing this fight here, but playing off of the point. You can see they're just off of the objective, blocking up 2 very heavily armored Dowie dwarf units here. 2 Longbeard and a Dwarf Warrior. They would be able to get on this objective otherwise and hold it forever, but being stopped up by skink cohorts is not great for them. Source shields, another really good use of unit up here, very tattered, holding off of the objective, stopping up a lot of cap weight for the Dowie, while Ripperdactyls flying overhead and making good use out of their mobility, really getting in there and punishing a lot of these Dowie units. Thunderers have gotten decent shots in, but they're being jumped on top of by Tic-Tac-Toe here, and the Ripperdactyls, and they're being taken to town. Definitely going to be crushed off the field here, while I would say that this game, despite the Dowie trading pretty well in the early game, losing all the cannons and the artillery, proving to be a little bit too much for them because they just don't have the speed to get back up onto these objectives and start capping. And that's going to be it there for first semifinals game between Himbo and Corvus Glaive here. Very well played by the Lizardmen. And for the Dowie, maybe playing a little bit more centered around those artillery crews would have done a little bit better going into the late game. It can be very risky to leave those guys unattended for any amount of time. Alright, folks. Second semifinals game kicking off right now. We've got Tzeentch versus Vampire Coast. It's Navi and Incognito here, duking it out. And we've got some pretty fun stuff in the each army here. Very aggressive with bringing forward the Rotting Promethean Gunnery Mob in the opening. The Lamprey's Revenge is a very expensive unit, but it can pay off dividends for sure. I just like to have them in the reserve, typically, whenever I do play Vampire Coast, which isn't terribly often. I'm not a huge fan of the Gunline factions, myself. Noctilus on the Necrofex here. We've got the Exalted Lord of Change, we've got some Zangors, we've got the Chosen of Tzeentch, which are very cool. Severed Claw, Halberds, Chromatic Abominations, and the Sour Guts. Hate Dwarves, agreed. Dowie are very hard to fight. Certainly for a lot of factions, they're just so capable of overwhelming you with firepower. So you really need fast units to get back there and shut down the gun lines. And that's a little easier said than done for a lot of the factions in the game right now. It's very difficult to outrange dwarves as well. Necrofex dropping big shots onto the Zangors, doing some good work. It's a good target for them. Maybe going after the Severed Claw here would be good. And it does look like Incognito is all over that, so no advice needed here. Good targeting from the Necrofex in the early going here. What's going to be going on with this Metalcaster? It does have the final transmutation and Searing Doom. Probably just going to get right on top of the Carronade. Good micro, dodging back and forth, trying to avoid the cannon shots directly to the face. Does eat one there, but the other one does miss. A little too close down, a great Searing Doom on top of the crew, killing a lot of these guys. Look how much damage that did, killing one of the cannons as well. Gonna take out the rest of these guys really quickly, and that's gonna be a lot of pressure taken off of Tzeentch to quickly engage and give them a little bit of time to work with. They are capping up the number 3, and they do have their home objective already. The Rotting Prometheans, the Lamprey's Revenge coming out here onto the number 2, though, being very aggressive with these guys. Kind of love this. Can certainly overwhelm this isolated Zangor unit if given a chance. Maybe the Sour Guts coming over here and the Chromatic Abominations would be nice, because I think the rest of the frontline engagement would be fine without the fire from these pinks and blues. And focusing down the Lampreys would be really nice, and just making sure that number 2 is held. But playing back with the Zangors and just not giving any cap weight up is also a pretty good play there. The Furies do come out. They are trying to deal with the Deck Gunners, but they get intercepted by the Night Terrors. Most of them get back up in the sky here. A few do get caught on the ground, take some casualties, but nothing too severe. They've got most of their models, and they're definitely very functional. There's so many Furies, man. This is a very classic play here from the forces of Tzeentch. Bringing in all these Furies to shut down the gun line is very meta. Very good call. But pretty good answer from Incognito getting back here with the Mornghuls and trying to just keep these Furies honest. Really wish there was something to stop these Furies, though, man. There's just really nothing to challenge them in the sky that the Vampire Coast has access to. Fellbats get messed up pretty badly by them, but I guess could be good to hound them down and not give them too many openings. And you've got the Chosen here with the Severed Claw, fighting toe-to-toe, ripping through all of the mobs here. The gunnery mobs and the regular variants, pistols and otherwise, doing a lot of good work. And the Severed Claw are on top of Count Noctilus here, who definitely needs to start running, because the weapon strength in these guys is pretty violent. 90 with a big bonus versus large of 30. He's going to start really chipping through his health. He's not great in melee combat to begin with. And the 34 melee defense is going to let him down pretty bad there. Some halberds on top of the Sour Guts, but getting collapsed on by the Chosen, who are rallying back just to clear up the pressure on these guys, to give them more opportunities to get shots in. And Scurvy Dogs coming out here, nibbling through the Chromatic Abominations, it looks like, who are definitely not on the field anymore. And Lamprey's Revenge taking over the number 2 objective here. Really nice stuff from the Vampire Coast here, using just a halberd and a very elite durable unit to totally dominate a entire objective here. But Count Noctilus getting nailed by this final transmutation here. A lot of stuff in here. You know, just regular mobs getting hit, as well as some Night Terrors also getting a lot of damage done to them. But Count Noctilus is rallying back a little bit, trying to get a little bit safer from the firing lines of all of these Tzeentchian forces. Really just the Sour Guts now. Chromatic Abominations, I believe, got dealt with by the Scurvy Dogs here, and a couple of other units. But we've got the Furies hovering overhead still, just being very persistent and putting pressure onto all of the shooting that the Vampire Coast has brought out. And Incognito is just down so hard now. All of the mobs have been dealt with. Really nothing to answer the Severed Claw and the Chosen. And the Chaos Warriors with halberds also doing some really good work there. Really great unit composition in the early going here, making it very difficult for the Vampire Coast to find purchase. But Lamprey's Revenge, they've gotten some pretty good value, but they are just getting swarmed by Centaurs of Tzeentch at this point and getting taken to task. And down go the Lamprey's Revenge. And I do believe that's going to pretty much be about it for the Vampire Coast. They really just don't have a lot of options to reestablish control here. The handguns are coming out, and they would be able to do some good work against all these targets on the number 3 objective here, but Furies are just swarming all over them. And what is this? Is that a Pit of Shades coming in to kill those Furies off. Good call from Count Noctilus here, who's in mortal combat with the Exalted Lord of Change here. Exalted Lord of Change does win this combat in a vacuum. Maybe with some overlayered fire from the Black Spot here, it could swing for the Vampire Coast. But they've got a lot more to worry about. They're going to be targeting down the Halberds here, getting some good shots on them. And Noctilus is holding with some invos here. Getting up to his healing cap just about. And we'll see what can happen here. I do believe that it's a little bit out of reach, though, at this point, because the pressure on the home objective has finally been dealt with by the Tzeentchian forces. And another fat final transmutation. Upgraded, really nailing the Force of the Vampire Coast here, and an army ability being dropped in as well. Roasting the Black Spot and the Deckhand Mob Halberds. Gonna do a little bit of damage to Noctilus too if it does hit, but he's a little bit out of the center of most of it. And yeah, I'm gonna fast forward through the rest of this because it's just gonna be Cynagors mopping up all this stuff. Furies and the like killing off the rest of these guys. And a very dominant performance from Navi here. Really nice calls. The Severed Claw with 2200 value. Really carrying that fight in the middle, and 3600 value on the Exalted Lord of Change is pretty overwhelming. I don't know what you do. Foot Noctilus would probably be a little bit better because you can just go even wider, and maybe just bringing tons of deck gunners. These deck gunners didn't get any value. They got jumped on by the Furies. Just swarms and swarms of Furies, man, proving to be too much for the haggard forces of the Vampire Coast there. Final match of the day, guys. For all of you who are here, I know the stream has been pretty rough today. It's been very chaotic. I've crashed a couple of times. The stream has not been liking me spectating battles either. So we've mostly been doing replays, but we're getting in here and we're making it happen as best we can. Working with what we've got. I appreciate everybody who's stuck around to watch the stream. It's very much appreciated. Y'all rock. And we're going to get the grand finals going for you so that we can just roll it on through. Huntress Himbo versus the forces of Tzeentch here. We're going to be getting it going. We did try and live cast this, and that's when I crashed out, so you may have already seen a little bit of this game, but we're going to see if the forces of the Lizardmen were able to kind of flip the script, because it was looking a little grim for them last time I was looking at this match. So we've got the Chameleon Skinks moving up to the number 3, taking advantage of the Vanguard deployment to go ahead and cap up an objective early is always a good idea. We've got the Tzeentchian Air Force here, Screamer and the Exalted Lord of Change. It's a good idea, I guess, if you're going to bring the Exalted Lord of Change here to start with the Screamer. Just because of the risk of, Ripperdactyls, Colossadon Hunters, and the like. I don't know how much research Navi has been doing. But, Tic-Tac-Toe is also an option and is out on the field. And has a lot of the items this time around. The Blade of the Ancient Skies and Mask of Heavens going to be helping buff that guy up to do a little bit of extra damage than he otherwise would be. And good fire from the Chameleon Skinks onto the Exalted Lord of Change, knocking out the Overshields and, forcing him back into another position. How's the stream going so far? It could be going better, but it's been good. Lots of fun games. We've been hanging out and chilling. And making it work as best we can. Would have been really nice if my OBS and internet weren't knocking out on me every hour, 30 minutes or so. It's been pretty consistent. It's been very frustrating, but we've got lots of replays to go off of, and that's been making it a little bit smoother than it otherwise could have been going. Ripperdactyls and the Skink Priest of Heavens with Tic-Tac-Toe hovering over the number 3, looking for an opportunity to land and get some good damage in here. Got some Pink Horrors and the Chromatic Abominations. Would probably be the 2 best targets, but also going in and supporting the Saurus Spears and Skink cohorts in the frontline fight would also be a good call, I believe. Little bit of pink fire shooting going in there. And going to be getting on top of the Sword of Spears here, doing a little bit of poke before the Chaos Warriors join battle against these guys. Chaos Warriors will win this fight. They win it pretty consistently, and, you know, usually they win it by a good margin. So they'll be pretty durable into the late game. And back here, man, we've got Screamers all over these Ripperdactyls. Tic-Tac-Toe coming in to support a little bit. Getting onto the rear of these Screamers is a good call. You know, if you can tank their leadership enough and get them to the point that the demonic instability starts popping off, they're going to take a lot of damage really quick, but a great response to all of these expensive units being here and casting an Overcast Final Transmutation. Zami does a good job of getting away with the with Tic-Tac-Toe here and not totally roasting out the caster. The Ripperdactyls dealt with by the Screamers, but getting wrecked by the Exalted Lord of Change here is Tic-Tac-Toe. Terrified and routing now. Going to be losing the Lord here in the early going, which is pretty brutal. And yeah, we've got the Chameleon Skinks and an awful lot of units kind of stacked up here. 3 units on 1 Chaos Warrior. What happens when you've got units overlapped this heavily is not everybody's in the fight, so you've got a lot of units just kind of not doing anything, really. So pulling the Skink cohort back and getting them out and around onto the Chromatic Abominations would be the best call there to get the most effect out of them. Skink cohorts lose really hard to Chaos Warriors. You can see that Zami does kind of recognize that and is starting to pull back some of these units to try and get them elsewhere onto the field. But the frontline fight's not going horribly elsewhere. Does have a bit of a value lead. Did deal with some Cynagors of Tzeentch out here. With the Feral Troglodon getting some good fire and Skink cohort supporting a little bit too. Ripperdactyls running away from the Screamers here. There's 2 of them, including the Shrieking Skyrays. And another very tattered Screamer out here, chasing after the Skink Priest of Heavens, who's pretty low now. Pretty low there. Definitely needs to keep the caster alive to get some value back. Only has the Uranus Thunderbolt, but that's a pretty good spell. Definitely going to be nice against Cynagors and other blobbed-up formations, such as right here, getting a good cast of it to help out the Sword of Spears, who are starting to win this combat a little bit better than they otherwise would without any support. That was the Lamprey's Bite going down on those Skink cohorts there, so really good use out of the Shrieking Skyrays so far, making sure to pressure down units that are not engaged in combat otherwise. And the Severed Claw here, man, they're going to be really difficult to deal with. 365 value is nothing to write home about right now, but they've helped kill a Saurus shielded Saurus unit there. We've got some more Sauruses back here. They're grinding through the Tzeentchian Chaos Warriors. Doing a good job fighting those guys off, and the Javelins chilling a little bit. Definitely need to get these guys a little bit more mobile and maybe go after some of these Pinks who have really just been allowed to shoot all game so far, but they've gotten counterfired a decent amount from the Chameleon Skinks. And we've got some Sword Spears. They did win their combat, and they're going in on the Pink Horrors now. It's a really good call, shutting down that shooting. Using the Cold One Riders, trying to stay away from the Screamers, and the poison from the Chameleon Skinks is going to help out a little bit. But they are getting trapped up a bit from the attacks that these Screamers are piling in on the rear of them. But they do get away for the most part and get on top of the Pink Horrors. If they can kill these guys and then get around onto the Chromatic Abominations and crush this position, then maybe, if they're healthy enough, they can get some more rear charges onto the remains of the Tzeentch forces out here. It's looking decent for each side. It's certainly within the margin of error for both forces. These Centaurs getting shot down by the Skink cohorts. Really nice use out of them. Zangor's fighting this Skink cohort, suffering a little bit from the leadership, man. Lord did flee recently, so didn't die Tic-Tac-Toe, but getting chased off the battlefield's almost as bad. It's still the complete collapse of morale for the forces. That was a great Searing Doom there, man. Really nice cast. hitting the cold ones and the Saurus Spears, so crushing those guys. They did get rid of the pink horrors, but I'm not sure how you can get back here now. Not really having many answers for these Centaurs of Tzeentch. The Screamer core is pretty healthy, and they're going to be very difficult to deal with for the Lizardmen into the late game. Starting to cap the number 1 up. Definitely needs to secure some objectives here. Down on all of them right now. Triple cap in effect, but the middle objective is looking like it might be secured by the Lizardmen. There is a healthy Zangor and a lot of blues. The Severed Claw looks like they're going to be rallying back to the middle, so maybe not going to be able to cap this objective, but the number 1 looks a little bit more promising, but the Chameleon Skinks get jumped on by the Centaurs. Very heads-up play getting on top of these guys before they go back into stealth, and taking advantage there of a combat unit that they are okay in melee combat, but they lose heavily on the charge to Centaurs of Tzeentch. And the Skink cohort really needs to get their javelin fire on top of these guys and start killing them. So it'd be very efficient damage here, and they do get a great volley off. You can see how much damage they're getting in there on a very expensive unit. Centaurs of Tzeentch are 1050, I believe, in cost. So getting rid of those guys would be huge in securing this objective, but there's another Centaur nice and healthy out here, and they're going to get a huge rear charge onto these javelin cohorts. Probably going to be routing them. And then they can just focus in on these Saurus warriors who are very held up by these Zangors. These Zangors have been holding for quite a while now, which is a really, really cost-efficient use of them. Back here, we've got another... Oh man, another final transmutation coming down. That's going to be the end of the Colossedon Hunters and the Feral Troglodon, probably. They have been doing some good damage to the Exalted Lord of Change and the Shrieking Skyrays, but I don't think they're going to be able to survive this really nasty spell. It's just ripping them apart in terms of health right now. Troglodon pushed off completely, does shatter, unfortunately, so no chance for that very expensive unit to rally. It was doing alright, but really hasn't been able to stay safe and get good use out of the shooting, which is really where it gets a lot of its value. And it does look like Zami recognizes the hole that he's in and is going to call it there. Really good try there, but amazing micro from Navi coming out there. Chasing out a lot of the Lizardman forces, and those Ripperdactyls... Zami was putting in work with them earlier in the stream. You can go back and check out some of the other replays I cast. Zami was doing great with the Ripperdactyl micro, but Screamers really came in and just shut them down. Great value across the board on all of those guys. 1200 here, 1678 on the Shrieking Skyrays. Beautiful stuff. Changebringers didn't come out, but they're here to shoot down... bigger dinos, like the Dreadsaurians and the like that you see sometimes from the lizards. So, very good army composition here. Armor checking in the front line, while quick response units in the Zangors that are also durable against Chameleon Skinks and Skink Javelin fire is a nice option with lots of Centaurs to come in and just hound out Cold One Riders and the like, who struggle pretty badly against those Centaurs. These guys are probably going to get nerfed in the next patch. It's probably for the best, because they just outperform everything in their weight class right now. It's really difficult to deal with Centaurs of Tzeentch, but, you know, there are ways to do it. This is not an unwinnable matchup by any means. Navi just played a really clean match here, but Zami... last tournament that I cast, Zami did really well. Almost got into the semis, I believe, and getting into grand finals this time. So we'll see if Zami can maybe come back in on the next new player tourney and get that dub. And yeah, move on to some of the intermediate and advanced level tournaments. That'd be really nice to see. Always a pleasure casting y'all's games, and looking forward to the next one, guys. I'm going to leave it off here. Definitely need to jump out and go check on the health of my computer. And maybe see if I can figure out what has been causing all of the problems that I've been having with the stream today, but I really appreciate you guys sticking in here with me. I hope y'all have enjoyed all the matches I've been casting. We had some pretty close ones. We did have a lot more than last week that were pretty heavily skewed, but, you know, we made some effort to maybe point out to, you know, some of these guys why exactly it might have swung so hard against them. And, yeah, we'll see how people do next week. So, peace out, guys. Y'all take care. GG's.